And so they kicked me out ultimately. I didn't really have any stable place to live. And so next thing I knew, they were giving me an ultimatum, go to rehab or we're going to try to take your kid.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Abby, welcome
Hey,
to
hey.
the Hopeaholics
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
really
It's
nice
a
to see you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all really excited. We're all trying to.
As was I.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool way to, I guess, just off air, we're talking about where we are and what it kind of the town means to you is extra special.
Yeah, no, it really is. I lived in a sober living out here, so that was how I didn't pay rent. You know, nice little setup. I was a house manager. It was a co-ed house in San Juan. Like we were just saying off air, my buddy Charlie, he was the male house manager and I was the female, so we lived there. And then I worked at a detox center in San Clemente. It was called Thor House of the Rising Sun. It has since been sold, but either way, it was a really nice setup because I did well working at the treatment center, and then I lived for free. And I did that for quite some time, and it was good because it kept me sober because of the environment that I was in. Mm-hmm. But, and I'll get into all of this. I don't want to dig deep right now, but the more success I would have out here, which, I mean, if I had it my way, we'd be out here. This is where I'd love to be. And I think one day we will be, we as in my daughter and I. But the more success and sobriety that I would accumulate here, the further away I'd feel from my daughter, who was in Pittsburgh. And I could not understand what the purpose or goal was long term. Like, why am I meant to? Because what happened was I ended up leaving and I had no tools. You know, I had never worked a full program. I would do meetings, but I wouldn't work the steps or just random things here and there. So I went home with no tools. I didn't last a month before I had relapsed. And, you know, then I was back to square one. But yeah, so now here we are. I'm back out here in the very town that I lived for the longest amount of time that I was out here. And it's been really cool, especially now that I'm sober.
Yeah.
Have a solid foundation and a good relationship with my kids. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me.
That's nice. Where do you want to start?
Where do you want to
Yeah.
start? I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot here.
Yeah.
There's a lot in this
Yeah.
whole story. And I don't know where
To begin?
to begin, but I do want to say before we begin, because I want this up at the very front, how incredible of a journey where you're at today. Like
Yeah.
when I first started following you, you were like at 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube.
Oh.
And last I looked, you were getting very close to 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube, which is incredible. Like,
Thank you.
that
And
is,
you have to say the short amount of time, because when you saw her at like 1.2,
It wasn't that long ago.
No, and it wasn't that to have that much
Quick.
growth, especially as we all know, like algorithms and social media and things are always changing.
Oh, yeah.
And currently, right now, especially
You're
in
popping.
the YouTube, yeah.
Aw.
That's what I
Well,
was gonna
thank
say. How
you.
does it feel so hot right now? You know, not only that, but in family life and everything, it seems to be just going really
Oh,
good.
you know what? It's so funny because I'm such a typical drug addict that I'm like, when's the ball gonna drop?
Right.
Like, you know?
Yeah,
It's like the
yeah.
higher I climb, I'm gonna break my neck when I fall.
Totally.
And you know, it's so funny that you say that. And I always try to look at the positives and the good of it all. But it has slowed down a little bit, right? And that's fine because, you know, I think it's good to stay humble, number one.
Yeah.
But like you say, I mean, and I talk about this a lot with like friends and family who don't quite understand it, but are kind enough to support it as much as they do. I'm like, you will never stay at the top forever. You will never, well, I mean, you know, whatever. But my views, I do well. I'm very grateful, but I've been steady sitting at 1.5, almost 1.6 for a little while now. And I'm at this little bit of a halt. There's not like this, but it's fine. I mean, I grew from 0 to $1 million on YouTube in a year. And
yeah, that's insane.
Insane, right? And I think for me, my biggest thing was I didn't want to be some viral moment, you know, as great as that can feel, with the instant gratification, especially, you know, with my past, but I want longevity. I want to create something out of it. I know that my, you know, income isn't going to be based on views forever. Whether I take the money that I make with YouTube and do something else with it, invest it, which is the goal and the plan. You know, I don't think all of the eggs will be in that basket forever. So I'm just trying to be smart, you know.
Good for you.
Thank you. I try to, you know, hire people who are better with money than I am and let them direct me. And, you know, my sister's been very kind in that way. She does well. My sister, she's a doctor and she works for Pitt University. And so she was kind enough to kind of hook me up with her financial advisor. So that's been like such a blessing.
Really good.
Yeah, because especially with my kid, like it's such a responsibility. And I was talking to somebody about this last night. You know, my daughter's dad is in her life, you know, equally as much as I am. We're 50-50 with her. And it's a couple years ago, well before I am at where I am now. But I was growing and I was trying to build a career, and I don't even remember what happened, but my daughter was mad at me and not him. And it was something that she should have been mad at both of us. It wasn't anything serious, but she's a kid. And I looked at her dad and I said, why does she hold me to such a higher standard? Like, why me? Why is she mad at me and not you? And without like taking a minute to even think, he immediately came back and he said, because she knows if anybody can do it, it's you. Mm-hmm. She knows if anybody can build a life, can support her, it's going to be you. And she sees that in you. So she holds you to a higher standard than anybody else that she loves.
Wow.
And for him, number one, to come back with that so quickly made me, you know, he truly believed that when he said it. And I could tell. And I felt it and I never forgot that, you know, it did. It really made me realize that it's up to me to build her a life.
That was nice, what he said.
It was.
Kind and loving.
And you know what? That's why I say it. I give him that credit.
Like a decent guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, we have our things, we all do, but I am grateful. Yeah. I am grateful.
Good for you.
Yeah. I try to, again, look at the bright side of everything. We all have our problems.
There's always a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Absolutely.
There's always a reason. We might not know it in the first day or month, but as we get older, those reasons come.
They do. Yeah. They always present themselves eventually.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How is your daughter handling all of this? Because your daughter is like a little superstar.
Yeah. You know, it's a great question. Glad that you asked it, because another thing that I talk about with people is when my daughter and I started this, I started on social media first. I was on TikTok. I enjoyed it. And by the way, I had a YouTube channel in elementary school first, and then again in middle school. Me and my girlfriend, we would prank call boys and we would film it. We would sit in
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, we'd sit in the car in the driveway. Obviously we couldn't drive yet, and we would just turn the car on so that we could listen to music, and we'd record ourselves jamming.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
So I mean, this YouTube thing's been a dream for a long time. But when COVID hit, I tried, I wanted to do it. I didn't have the equipment. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have the money to get one. I didn't have the storage space. And I would edit these videos and then I wouldn't be able to download them and I'd cry. And so when I found TikTok, I was like, okay, 60-second vertical videos, I could get down with this. So I started talking about life, sobriety, some things I had been through with, really, really toxic and just kind of abusive, honestly, relationships, which was not my daughter's dad, but my most recent relationship, which was over 3 years ago now. But I started talking about all of that, and I started to gain, a little bit of traction. And then to fast forward, once, my daughter kind of came into it all, we got on YouTube. We were really having fun. Like, we were doing trends, whatever the case was, we'd blindfold and she would try different drinks or all the fun stuff. And we blew up. And I give a lot of the credit to her because she's so funny. She's quick-witted. People love her. They do. But, one thing I will genuinely say, and I think it's important to mention this, especially for other like aspiring content creators, moms, is like, you don't necessarily know what you're getting yourself into. And I'm grateful that she does take it well, my daughter. And she's, people come up to us and they want to take photos. Wow. And, we have a thing where I look at her and I go, like this. And she's usually like, yeah, I'm fine. But she has, if she wants to say no, she can say no. And she knows that, we do a lot with boundaries, a lot of work with that, because those are a lot harder to learn as an adult. So she's real good at boundaries. But of course, if I could go back, I don't know if I'd show her as much as I did.
Oh.
And I think it's just because she's getting older. I think it's fun and it's cute when they're younger. And then you get that first comment about your kid and you're like, you don't get to say that. And then it's like, well, you put them online. And we haven't had like real bad experiences. However, with her being almost 10, I'm just at a point with my social media where I'm showing her less. So she's not gone. She's not removed from the platforms, but I'm definitely giving her more privacy. And it challenges me as a mom. Like, who am I? Because I'm not just a mom. And I really think I found myself centering a lot of my content around motherhood. And it's like, that's just a piece of me. That's who I am to somebody else. But who am I? And how do I want to show people that and present that? You know, even my sobriety, it's important and I love discussing it, but it's not everything. So this has been a cool journey recently because it's challenging me a little bit to kind of start to consider and think about those things. So, but generally she loves it. She wants to be a part of it. We have discussions about it regularly. I check in on her, ask her questions, make sure she's cool. I don't ever want her to feel pressure around it, you know?
It's a huge responsibility though, for her as well, not only you.
Yeah.
Did you have to have a conversation with like her dad as well?
You know what? I am grateful in the sense that he's always been supportive of it. Like he's just kind of watched the journey and he's enjoyed it because, and same with his mom. I co-parent with his mom a little bit more than him. And her too, and I think his grandma, she's just like kind of like, go, you know, they love it. They enjoy it. And I have been very grateful for that because I have friends that deal with, you know, stuff with the baby dads, as do I, but, you know, not nearly at the same level. And so I have been grateful over the years that he has just kind of let us enjoy this together. And they live stream video games sometimes. So he's doing his own thing anyway.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's been fun. But yeah, lately I'm starting to give her a little bit more privacy and she just will kind of pop in and out here and there. So we're in a good place with it right now. But I don't regret anything by any means. You know, we'll see.
I think that's a really good kind of perspective to look at it, and also showcases like you being extremely self-aware and not, because sometimes you can get lost into the huge boom of like, you know, 0 to 1 million in less than a year. And then obviously, you know, people love your guys' content. So it's sometimes hard for the human to actually remove themselves from kind of that part.
Yes.
And
100%.
really take in perspective of not only your child, but then also you being able to be like, wait, well, who am I?
Yeah.
Like there's so many elements and pillars to you as an individual that it's not just this one little element.
Yep.
And plus it is, I feel, for other like parents that are thinking about doing it as well, it's a really good thing to put out there, because I think when you're young and you're a kid, it's easy because you're not like, I feel once, especially a girl hits like 10 and then you start getting a little bit older, that's when things start getting a little more dicey with your friend circle, the social media game, and things can kind of start weighing in extra on a person's like self-esteem. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a 16-year-old daughter, and it's rough out there. It is
rough.
It is brutal out there.
Oh, and I'm sure with 16, I'm like terrified. It's scary. And that's why I think about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, it would just scare me. And I don't ever want to make her life harder, right?
Sure.
Like I want to make her life easier. That's my job as her mom. And so even if, you know, she's like, well, I want to do it and I still want to be a part of it. It's like, well, even then it's still my job as her mom to make decisions that I know are best, because I know things that she doesn't, you know, and we've had like little things, I think, with like, you know, so-and-so said that this person said this about me. And I'll say to her, I'm like, you got to look at the messenger and what their intent is in doing that stuff. And, you know, we haven't had anything too crazy, but little things like that. And so, yeah, it's just, but like you say, even just a couple years ago, this kind of stuff wasn't talked about. People had their kids all over the internet.
Of course.
You know? And, and I think it got so crazy that now people are talking about it. And, you know, I've done my best to educate myself and understand, like, you know, the boundaries that you don't cross and the lines. And that's the other thing with, you know, my financial advisor is like putting some of it aside for her, right? And it's like, I know a lot of this wouldn't have happened without her. Like, I will never deny that. And so she has a little, you know, a little cushion there that she'll always benefit from that. You know, when she's 18, whether she goes to college or whatever she decides to do, she's going to have a chunk from that. It's not going to be, you know, my mom had this viral moment and now there's nothing to show for it.
Right.
That is what I will not have. And so, But like you say, that transition and with the parasocial relationships, people get so attached to the unit of her and I.
Of course.
And so, when that split happens and when she's not in content as much, people either ask where she is or, you know, things start to change. But 100%, I would never, ever choose the numbers over what I believe is best for her. So, you know, even if things do change for a while. And then the other thing I always think to myself too is like, if people genuinely left and didn't watch me anymore because she was, I don't think I really want them. Totally. The people that are going to stick around are the people that I want around, you know? So it's all going to work out either way in the end. But yeah, it's an important conversation today, especially. For sure.
I think it also helps too, you being able to have kind of these not so conventional conversations with your daughter. To be able to, her being like, coming to you and saying so-and-so said this, and you're able to actually sit down and kind of have this more adult conversation with something that is not directly like her amongst other girls. You're in a way, it kind of helps have a conversation to ease her into later on confrontations that will eventually happen because
it's inevitable, human. Right?
So I mean, that's just looking at more of like a brighter side of the picture.
That's true. It prepares her for some of the things that girls inevitably go through.
Absolutely.
That's true. And my biggest thing is always just, I hope she comes to me. I hope she feels comfortable being able to share things with me and tell me when things get hard or when things happen. And I feel like a lot of it too is because of how involved I am. Like I've been coaching her cheerleading squad for, 4 years now. And so not only are her and I so close, but I know all her friends. I know them closely. I work alongside them. I know their parents. And that has been another really important part to me. And I laugh. I'm like, I'm going to miss a game this weekend because I'll be out here. And one of my coaches is like, I'll FaceTime you and, you can still give them a pep talk before they go out on the field to do their halftime performance. And I'm like, it's just so funny because I equally love being the like small suburban mom who's volunteering on, or last weekend. And then this weekend, I'm in Orange County doing a podcast. Like it's so cool. And I credit all of that to social media. Years ago, you didn't get to do that. Like you had to make your way out here in order to have any success in these sorts of, environments. And now with social media, you get to kind of do it all. And as a single mom, like what more could you ever ask for, to be able to like publicly talk about your journey with sobriety and then go home and literally volunteer at your kid's school and like read to the library class.
Totally.
It's such a dope thing,
Well, and you're lucky too. You have your baby daddy.
Yeah.
And his mother.
Absolutely.
Part of the family. It's a big deal. So you're lucky in that sense. And
we really are.
Sobriety brought you those relationships.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. And there were people that really stuck beside me, even at the worst and the hardest and my not so great day. I hurt a lot of people, and his mom especially, I really appreciate, because I hurt her a lot. Well, I mean, she tried to help me, and then I would totally screw her over when I was at my worst. And so for people like her to still be around, and of course, the primary thing is the love she has for her granddaughter, and that's what we want.
Yeah.
But totally. I'm very grateful. Yeah. 100%.
Well, there's nothing like a grandparent, like a grandmother.
Yeah. Oh,
like a good one.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying, that her whole goal is to make your daughter happy.
Yeah. No, it is. It's important. And I do appreciate it, because my parents have been such a big part of her journey, especially before I got sober.
Nice.
I gave, actually, when I came out here to get sober, I was at an outpatient in Mission Viejo, and a therapist recommended that I give my half of the rights to my parents to help my daughter's dad raise her. And that was something that I wanted them to be involved, just for lots of reasons. I wanted them to have a role in her life. And I did that. Now, if I would have known how hard it was going to be to get her back, I don't know if I would have. But to this day, I mean, it will always be one of the most selfless decisions that I've ever made for her. And I don't regret it. But so oh my gosh, they helped raise her when she was little. And I was just talking
to your parents?
That's my parents.
Okay.
And what I was going to say about that is they live at the beach. They're in Myrtle Beach now. They have a house there. They still have a house in Pittsburgh, but they're never there anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I don't see my parents, and that's very recent. That's within, I would say, the past like 3 or 4 months. So that's been a transition, not having my mom and dad around. I'm close with them. I mean, we talk every day. They're on a cruise right now, actually. But So yeah, even more so, I am grateful that Mila has, her other grandma that's, at all of the football games. And not to say, my parents are there as much as they can be. They have other grandchildren too, and they're very supportive, and they're always running back and forth. And then me and Mila go to their beach house too. That's one of Mila's favorite places to be. It's to go to Myrtle Beach. So
you guys were there a month ago, maybe.
Yeah, July.
Like
early July.
What was I going to say? Oh, did you grow up in Pittsburgh?
I did. Born and raised
in Pittsburgh.
Yep. About 20 minutes out of the city. So pretty close to the city. Just because everybody says Pittsburgh. It could be like an hour out in like a farm town.
Sure.
We're pretty close in there. Yeah. So it's really wild because I am raising her in the same district that I grew up in. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like that wasn't the dream.
Yeah.
But I got pregnant at 19. And then I joke, you got to laugh about this stuff. But I always wanted to be out here. I'm like Rehab. Didn't think Rehab was going to bring me out here, but it was. And that's why, like today, this stuff is just so cool because now I wouldn't want it any other way. And like you were saying earlier, everything ends up presenting itself at one point or another, all of the reasons. And oh, yeah. I mean, but if I ever would have known that it was going to be Rehab that brought me out to California for the first time. But now I've built so many relationships, not just from social media, but even before that when I was out here. And so now getting to come out for new reasons. And I was talking to some people who live out here who I used to spend a lot of time with. And somebody I really appreciate, she's like, I remember years ago, you said to me, she has a couple more years than I do, that you just wanted to be like a dope single mom that could pay for her own bills and have her own place and have a car. And she's like, and you're literally doing it. And then some, like things that I never would. And so to see people like that again and have them say that to you, it's like, of course I know that, but to hear it from somebody, I mean, it like made me tear up because I'm like, it's so cool. And I think it's really easy. One of the things I talk about a lot is for me, it can be really easy to forget how painful it was.
Yes.
Like just with time, you forget how bad it was, which can be scary, And I think that's why it's so important to be active in the, program for me and help people who are newer in recovery because it reminds you. But you really forget how bad it was. And I forget how down bad I was. I was... I'd going back and forth every time things would blow up in Pittsburgh. I'd run back out to California. I would blow shit up out here and I'd run back home. And I just kept doing that until I learned that wherever I go, there I am. But, and my dad too was a big wake up call and all of that. But so that's why it's so ironic that I got sober in my hometown,
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Like little stints here and there out here, but I didn't actually get sober and stay sober until the very first time I went to treatment in Pittsburgh after all those years of running away from myself. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because can't run away from. Yeah. We're stuck with ourselves.
No, yeah. Unfortunately, I tried many of times.
The good old relocation.
Yeah, geographicals don't technically work unless you're ready to actually change yourself.
Yes, do the work.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
I didn't use out here. I got clean in Orange County, but I'm not from Orange County. I'm from Southern California. But I don't think I could have got clean where I grew up.
And a lot of people say that, and I totally get it. I do. Some people just have to get away from that. Bad things happen. There's nothing good for you there anymore. And like even for me, if I did not have a kid in Pittsburgh, there would be nothing there for me, And even now, the older I get, the more I realize that I'm not tied down there. We are not tied down there as much as I've always felt we were. Like it's always been just a black and white thing. My feet are glued to the ground here, at least until she graduates high school. And it's not necessarily the case, not that I have any plans right now, but especially with how often I get to travel out here for work. And I mean, it's the best of both worlds right now. And she gets to have her friends and, a school that's working. Everything's working for her.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to change that. But no, I have a lot of friends that they just had to get away too. So I get it. I do.
There's nothing going on where I grew up. Everybody's still an addict.
That's so unfortunate.
You know what I mean?
So sad.
It really is. But But right here, I mean, this is like the mecca
Dude.
of recovery.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really
You
is.
can go to a meeting. We could, as soon
Every
as we're
hour
done
on the
here,
hour.
we could pack it up and we could go find a meeting,
Yeah.
go chill,
Yeah.
go meet some cool ass people that are doing the deal.
That's what I miss about it out here the most. You are 100. You're right. Every hour.
Every
Yeah,
hour.
it's
Everywhere
insane.
you go. Yep. On the beach,
Yep.
in a church, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Any type
People's
you want,
houses.
candlelight
Yeah.
meeting.
Nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God. Yes. No, you're so right. And I do. I miss
Yeah, but I'm
that.
from Winnipeg. She's from Pittsburgh. Everyone's got a connect in Pittsburgh. Every time you watch a movie, there's a connect in Pittsburgh. Let's face
wanna-
it, the people here are different.
You know what? That's actually so funny you say that because, oh, my biggest connect that I ended up having in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
I met in Orange County.
No way.
He was from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Him and I were both from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, everyone's got.
Yeah, and then you met up in Orange County,
Yeah.
and bam.
Bam.
Well,
I-
what was he in rehab too?
We were in rehab out here. Oh, both. We could hear it in the accent. When you're from Pittsburgh, a lot of people will say Philly, but either way, close enough. I moved back to Taylor's oldest time, back to Pittsburgh with my boyfriend who I met out here in rehab.
Nice.
We weren't even sober. My poor parents. We weren't even sober when we moved home. We had this bright idea that we were gonna be. The day we got home, like we weren't gonna be sick.
Right.
Like we were
Yeah.
just gonna be sober. But anyway, yeah, we get back and yeah, we call it. We're like, "Are you back in Pittsburgh?" He's like, "Yeah." We're like, "Are you sober?" He's like, "No." We're like, "All right, cool. Like we'll see you
Oh my
soon."
goodness.
It was crazy though because we would not have had that connect if it weren't for meeting him out here. So you're right. Like it's all
I'm telling you.
intertwined.
We've
across the
also
world.
been the mecca for rehab since about
Honest to God.
2012.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
The mecca for rehab. You know, why not though? Like
Southern California. It's
in
like
the winter,
California.
wintertime, do you want
How
to
could
be
you not?
chilling in Pittsburgh, coming
And
when you're
no.
dope
Yeah,
sick?
exactly.
And no, not even when I'm sober.
Yeah.
Not even when I'm sober. I don't want, nope, I'm good.
Or you want to come to Southern California, Orange County, and Orange County was like popping for years. We're not popping that hard anymore, thank God, because just the treatment. I mean, recovery is better when it's not popping out here because
That's true, I guess.
the body brokering was off the charts out here. Bad shit was happening. They
That's
moved
true.
that shit all to LA now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not all of LA is bad.
The meetings here are amazing.
Yep.
Even I go back home to Winnipeg. You go to a meeting. I mean, no offense to Winnipeg.
It's Canada, bro.
Yeah.
See the people who
Total
walk into the
offense.
meetings. I mean, that's like the homeless. No offense, but it's not like California where
Yeah.
you go to a meeting and it's structured and it's nice. There, you could have people passing out or peeing on themselves. I mean, it's
No,
just
you're right.
Totally
Yeah.
different. And I'm
You
assuming
can go.
Pitt-
They have those out here. You just got
You
to
can
go to
find
certain
them.
certain
Yeah.
cities for those
And
ones.
those
But you can
everywhere.
also
Yeah.
go to like the Gucci meeting in Laguna Beach. You could go to the freaking Alano Club or the Canyon Club.
Yeah.
Oh, the Canyon Club. Wow.
Yeah,
Or on like 4th Street down in the
Crazy.
peninsula.
yeah. That's the Newport Club in Newport Beach.
There's just like that's what's so great about California is
Yeah.
that there's such a variety, different
That's true,
types,
too.
young people's meetings. They have
They got
like,
old
a
people's
narrow it-
meeting.
they
That
narrow
meeting
it
that
down.
Danny Lansdale took us to at that.
Oh, yeah.
It was out in the mountains, not mountains, but the hills in
Where the
Santa
monks-
Margarita,
Oh,
where the
wow.
monks are.
Oh,
It was
that's cool.
yeah,
was
that's what I mean. Like
It's
you
fun,
have so
different
much
things.
variety where it's not just like stuck into what we
Yeah.
kind of sometimes see like
Yeah.
on televised, where it's
Yes.
just like kind of like this weird like stuffy thing that nobody really wants to be a part of, anyways.
Yeah.
No,
No, you're right. It's
I have a-
narrowed down.
I have a question for when did the first kind of
Boom.
you have an issue, you're going to Cali.
Okay, this gets interesting. So, when I went out to California for the first time to get sober, I went to Palm Springs. I went to Michael's house.
Yes.
So, I was in the desert. That was my first experience of California. I just remember like being in that taxi and looking at the mountains, and I just had never seen anything like it. Was my first time on the West Coast. But I was not physically dependent to anything
Okay.
at
How old
this
were you?
time. 22.
Okay.
Now, was it summertime?
Yes, it was. I think spring.
Spring? So
I
it
remember
wasn't like
correctly.
120 yet. out
No.
there.
And you had already had your
Oh,
baby.
it was hot. It was yes. My daughter was about 2. Yes. It was hot. I remember it being hot, but I remember in Pittsburgh it wasn't like freezing cold when I left. but yeah, I can't remember. I also have a real short memory. So like when I always joking say when I had to do intakes, I'm like, please don't ask me about the timeline because I don't know. I can't tell you. But what I can say is I had my kid. I started experiencing really bad postpartum depression. My daughter's dad and I, when I got pregnant, I guess you could say we were dating for like 2 months. So the good thing was him and I had been friends for years, like really good friends. You know, he had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend. He'd be like the guy I'd call to like pick me up at a party when I'd get in a fight with my boyfriend. Like he was just that good guy friend. And we started hanging out a lot. And the next thing I knew, I was pregnant. And so when I had her, we were trying really hard to create this white picket fence life because that's what I grew up in. That's what my parents wanted to see. I mean, I remember my mom pushing us to get married just because that's what we were supposed to.
Yeah.
We still to this day joke. I'm like, Mom, should I marry? She's like, shut up. But she, you know, whatever. I get it. Old school. So we tried really, really hard. And we were both young. We both, for different reasons, were not in a good place. And the postpartum hit so bad. And so I was prescribed benzos. And oh my God, the first one I took, that was it. It cured everything. Every bad feeling, every insecurity. I was like a super mom. That was the only way I could go to work. I was trying to build a career doing hair. I had got my cosmetology license when I was pregnant with Mila. So I was still 19. I turned 20 in October and then I had her in January. So I had her just a few months after turning 20. But yeah, so I passed those state boards. I'm working as an assistant in these high-end salons downtown and I'm trying to build a book, but I found myself unable to like walk into work without eating like 2 benzos at least. And then I had my whole system. I would then eat lunch and then I would take another one for the day. And so eventually I started drinking on them. I started wrecking cars. I wouldn't wake up to my alarm. I wasn't getting Mila to daycare. Like, I was just starting to go downhill. My daughter's dad had never struggled with addiction, but a lot of family members had for him. And that's where this was interesting because my family, no addicts, no alcoholics.
Wow.
Well, I found out later that some were like very secretively and very much down the line. But for my daughter's dad, unfortunately, his father passed away as a direct result of this disease. It would have been a few years later after this, but he had seen it directly. I mean, he had a job, I think he was in middle school, my daughter's dad, where he'd be hanging out with his friends, they'd be skateboarding, and at the same time every day, he had a job to go check on his uncle, make sure his uncle wasn't dead, you know, on the couch. And so that's kind of how he grew up. Wow. And so when I started dabbling and struggling, you know, he'd go through my phone. He would see that like because I'd go through those bottles of prescriptions in days and have to call people. He'd, you know, smash my phone. And then we'd go to the mall. He'd go buy me a new one. And it was just a cycle until finally we split. Neither one of us were happy. Mila was about 1 when we broke up. I moved back in with my mom and dad, which was the worst thing for me. And so they kicked me out ultimately. I didn't really have any stable place to live. And so next thing I knew, they were giving me an ultimatum, go to rehab or we're going to try to take your kid. And at first I was very stubborn in the sense of like, I genuinely didn't think I needed rehab. I think I needed mental health. Like I needed help with my mental health. Yeah. I really did. I mean, I believe the addiction would have manifested regardless somehow. But at that time, I definitely needed a lot of help in the mental health category. So I was in this headspace of I'll prove you wrong and then I'm not going to talk to you and you know you think so poorly of me. And that didn't last long and I ultimately ended up going because I wanted my family back. So that was my reasoning for going to California the first time. I wanted my parents back. I walk into treatment, everybody's detoxing. They're all, you know, on these tapers that I didn't know what they even were. Mm-hmm. And so my first thought is like, I don't belong here. I don't fit in with these people. So really? First mistake. And then I started to kind of catch on to what was happening. I go back in the nurse's station after doing my intake and I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to feel it, you know? And so they gave me Suboxone and I got really, really high. And that was I had dabbled a little bit with opiates, but nothing crazy. Again, not to any physical dependency. Yeah. Even with the Xanax, I never got physically dependent. Like I was talking about this with somebody else. I'm like, maybe a little bit, and I didn't necessarily know what it was. Sure. Little withdrawal symptoms, but nothing major. So yeah, then to fast forward, I did the 30-day inpatient at Michael's house. I went to outpatient in Orange County, which is how I got to Orange County. A girl that I got really close with, an inpatient, her and I went together. We were a little too close because I would end up relapsing with her, and she would introduce me to what just totally destroyed everything. So, you know, I had dabbled with like a little bit of dope back in Pittsburgh, but it was powder. When I tried it out here and realized that I could not put it up my nose, it's a whole new ball game. So, you know, the first time I did that, I was in the San Clemente Pier family bathroom stall sitting on the baby changing table.
Wow.
And the girl that was my friend at the time and this other kid, and that was it. I mean, it was off to the races from there. So I actually was introduced to the shit that sent me down bad, technically in rehab, which I'm very careful about the way like I discuss that, because it's all about like just, of course, the decisions you make and who you surround yourself with. And again, I know that my disease would have manifested itself regardless, but it is really crazy that I kind of went out there having no idea what half of the stuff was, what detoxing felt like, and then there I was like a flat out like addicted to heroin junkie, you know? So it happened quickly.
And then how long were you out in Orange County on that run?
So actually that was not even a run. I did that. And then we had this deal that we would do it one time and we wouldn't say a word. And she immediately ratted us out the next day in outpatient. That was the last day I saw her. They sent her, I think in Northern California, actually. I stayed, and then I stayed sober for a little bit. And then, you know, what happened was then I started to meet more people in San Clemente, owners of that treatment center, Thor. I got real close to them. They were like my parents out here in California. They really took care of me. And I did okay. But again, I didn't have a program. So I just was around the right people at the right time. I'd go home to visit my daughter for her birthday, Christmas. But so then, you know, one time I was leaving Pittsburgh after a visit, and I was just sick. I was sick about leaving her. I couldn't believe that this was, I couldn't understand what my life was. I'm leaving her to go continue to build a life in California. It was so confusing, but I knew I needed to be sober, you know? So I didn't make it through the Pittsburgh airport that day. I got drunk. I had a couple shots at the airport. You know, I got pretty drunk on the plane, and I had a boyfriend out here. And as soon as I landed, him and I were sober. As soon as I landed, he met me there to pick me up. And I said, like, I need you to call somebody. I need you to get shit. And he was a vet at all of this. And he's like, you do not want to do this, I'm telling you. And I pulled like one of the moves that I guess us females pull manipulation wise. And I told him that if he didn't get it, I was going to get somebody else to get it for me. And I knew that would work, and it did. And he went and got the shit, and it was just that led to my first real run and physical dependency to heroin. And it was just horrible. I mean, we had this little apartment right near, not in San Clemente, but right near. It was tiny, and we paid so much money for it. We slept on an air mattress, and we obviously ended up breaking the lease there. I was so dope sick that I wanted my parents, like I wanted to go home. Yeah. So I called them and I said, you know, that we were sober and we wanted to come home, and I was ready to be a mom again. And this is when we had this bright idea that we were going to move back to Pittsburgh and be sober. Didn't happen. You know, that didn't last long. I got arrested. I got caught up, and you know, I had a couple God moments like that where I was alone and I was about to, you know, and I always say that I definitely think that intervention of the cops literally surrounding me, and they weren't after me, they were after the dealers, but they got me. And you know, I don't know if I would have overdosed in that car alone that day.
Sure.
But that's what kind of blew everything up. So then my parents forced me into treatment, and they kicked him out. You know, he was in the middle of Pittsburgh knowing nobody from out here. And you know, so anyway, because there's so many little details, but him and I ended up going back out there. I went to treatment in Pittsburgh for, I think, like 2 or 3 days, just until one of our California people could get us on a plane and get us back out there. So that wasn't, you know, the last time that the full time that I went to treatment in Pittsburgh was when I got sober.
Really?
For good. But yeah, I had like little stints here and there out in California. And then, yeah, that one other time I went to treatment for like 3 days in Pittsburgh until I could get back out here. So I definitely had a lot to face in Pittsburgh that I just really didn't want to, you know? Mm-hmm. Messes from before my addiction hit the fan, but then everything too from after. But yeah, there's a lot of like legalities in my story. You know, I got in trouble a lot. I think a big one is that I talk about online a lot is my dad pressing felony charges on me. I think he just, and I hate to speak for him because I think he just didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But I also think that he was in a place of like, I'd rather see her in jail than dead, you know?
For sure.
And I always say this, I give him so much credit for what he did because as a parent, I don't know how. Like, I can't even fathom because I'd like to believe I wouldn't enable my kid, but you don't know.
Totally.
Oh my God, you don't know. And my mom, who I don't think I give her enough credit because I don't think she ever could have done what he did. And she knew that. So she stepped back and she did nothing. She didn't intervene what he was doing. She didn't try to stop him. It hurt her and she didn't want to see those things happen to me, but she knew that the best thing was just to stay out of it and let him do what he was doing. And I definitely don't give her enough credit for that as I should, because that had to be just as hard, you know?
For sure.
I feel like you just did right now, though.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
right
she deserves it. She really does. My God. All those times in courtrooms where she would just sit in the back, like unable to even like speak because of the tears. And yeah, it was intense there for a while, but that's what got me sober. Those charges. I mean, that's what did it for me. It was just that ending, you know, I don't want to go to jail. I'm actually scared. That was the first time that I was actually scared. It wasn't about a boyfriend. It wasn't about being in California. Like, I was stuck in Pittsburgh, and my Charlie, who passed, who I briefly mentioned, who I was really, really close with, he was a marketing director out here for treatment. And he would always get me my flights. I'd, you know, call him when shit would hit the fan, and he'd happily get me back out here. He'd put me up in treatment, whatever. So when my dad pressed these charges, I immediately called him, like, you got to get me out of here. It's bad. Like, this is the worst one yet. And he was like, no. And for the first time ever, he said no. And I'll never forget screaming on the phone and just telling him I hated him. I was so hurt. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you have a girl out there. I'm like, everything I can think of to just blame him. And now, of course, you know, and thank God I got sober before he passed. Like, so we had a good relationship, like long distance, but we talked a lot. But yeah, I felt really bad when things kind of crumbled for him with the treatment center he was working for. I think he lost a lot of his purpose and things went downhill fast. And so that next time I came out here was to bury him, which I never thought that, because I didn't leave on the best terms. I just dipped and didn't say bye to him. We were in a real bad fight and I never got to see him again. You know, I have a lot of regrets in that way. I think that's just life. You learn.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, if I would have had any idea that that's how things would end for him, I never would have left the way. So, you know, I give him so much credit because I don't know if I'd be here if it weren't for him. And like even today, again, like I literally, I was vlogging and I was driving around a little bit this morning in San Juan and I had tears in my eyes. I'm like passing the stables where we would do like therapy and group. And I'm like, if he saw me right now, it's just crazy, you know, and I know he does see me right now. And I know that he's like not even the slightest bit surprised. I am, but I know he's not. It's crazy how, I mean, I don't know how I necessarily feel about this statement, but how they say like some of us have to die so that some of us can live, and just kind of tell those stories and get sober and stay sober and carry the message, especially for the ones that we lost. It's just so true. And, I don't know. I just feel like it's getting worse, you know, out there. So this is all just so important, you know,
for sure.
Conversation.
And I agree. Like you being able to keep him living on.
Exactly.
Because he's not here.
Exactly.
And because it also carries a lot of weight for like, say for myself. So I never got to meet this person that means so much to you. However, I know what it truly means if you do this program and if you don't, because you don't have a friend now.
Exactly.
You know, it's like that's the severity of where we live at, is that it's life and death.
Yeah.
It's so much more than a light conversation, because just off of the little bits of pieces of your story, you were running and gunning for quite some time before you finally were like, okay, I'm done. I'm trying to get this thing. Yeah. And like you talking about your parents, I think maybe the older that we get, and I don't have children, but I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I couldn't imagine being a parent, because I would assume, especially amongst 3 others that have children, a parent wants to do nothing but fix their kid.
Yep.
And go to any lengths for them.
Exactly.
Whatever that looks like. Most. The majority, usually.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like that's tough, but the beautiful thing is they now get this.
Yeah, well, and you know what I say too is like and this isn't, a dig at any other type of parenting, but I have to say I'm so grateful that my parents had standards for me.
Sure.
And the way of, and listen, when people enable, it's out of love. There's no ill intent there. I get it. I think it takes a lot of strength to be able to cut off. Mm-hmm. Even, last night when Mo and I were chatting, and she said something that her mother said to her before she got sober. And as a mom, it resonated so deeply. She said something to her like, hey, listen, I've been through this with your dad, your uncles. Like, I've already given you to God. I've already done that. And when she said that in the car last night, it just hit me so hard, because if I could shake her mom's hand for that one, because holy shit, as a mom though, you do. And especially if you've gone through it with, your husband or your brothers or your brother-in-laws, whoever, it's like, you get it, and you know how it will destroy you, and it will take you to the ground. They will take you to the ground with them. And to have that conversation with God like that, your own kid, I mean, it's commendable. And I'm so grateful that my parents, had standards in the sense that they're like, this isn't who we raised. And I talk about this a lot. I have a little bit of it here, but I'll tell you this really quickly. My last time in treatment, when I went, because it was the ultimatum, go to treatment or we're pressing charges. That's what it was. I took my parents' checkbook and I was writing checks to my bank account. And I knew, every day my dad would call me, I'm like, is this the call? It's amazing that I couldn't just go tell them that I needed help.
Yeah.
I just had to keep on adding to it and draining their bank account until the day he went to pump gas and his card declined, which for my parents who have worked very hard and came from nothing, doesn't happen. And so he went to the bank, he printed all of them, he calls me, go to treatment or pressing charges. So that's when I called Charlie, and he wouldn't, save me. He wouldn't, enable me.
Yeah.
And I was stuck facing this shit, and so I go to treatment, and like, okay, we're dodging this bullet. I couldn't imagine, I don't belong in prison. And I am 28 days into this program. And there were a lot of things that were different about that final time. I wasn't doing my makeup. I wasn't hanging out with the girls. I wasn't like at the smoke pit and playing volleyball. I was miserable.
Yeah.
I was like dead inside. But towards the end, I started to gain a little bit of hope. I had nowhere to go. So I had set up a situation with a sober living, which my Charlie had paid that first month just so that I could get in. Thank God. I don't know what would have happened otherwise if he wouldn't have done that for me. And he really didn't even want to talk to me. So I really do appreciate that. But those final couple of days, I was starting to finally feel like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like I was gaining a little bit of hope, a little bit of motivation to get out there and like do it. And they're doing mail call. I had 2 days left before I was graduating, and they're doing mail call. And they call my name, and I'm like, nobody's sending me mail. Nobody's calling me. Everybody's done with me. You have the wrong. And they're like, Abbey Fickley. I'm like, okay. So I, take this mail, and I open it, and it is a 3-page typed letter from my father, signed and dated at the end, disownment letter, completely disowning me as his child. And on the final page, letting me know that he decided to go through with the charges anyways. So there I was 2 days out from graduating treatment, finding out that I'm facing, 32 felonies, 32 counts of forgery, identity theft, and theft by unlawful taking, and a minimum of 7 years in prison. And I'm sober, newly sober. All I want to do is go get high now. all I can think about is my kid's not going to know who I am. She's going to be, you know, a teen. I don't know. So I'm running up to every tech in the, you know, what's going to happen to me. I needed somebody to tell me exactly what was going to happen, and nobody could do that. And that is where God came in for me. That is where I built a relationship with God. Because when I went to that sober living, I was waking up physically ill, throwing up every single day out of the fear for what was going to happen to me. And I just had enough. Like, I got to the point where I was so fed up with feeling like that I'm like, you know what? I don't care what happens to me. I can't carry this anymore. And I did. I mean, it wasn't some profound moment. I didn't fall to my knees, but I did. I was, I guess, the gift of desperation, you could say, because I just was like, whoever you are, whatever you are, I'm begging you to take this. I can't carry it anymore. Take me to prison, take me wherever you need to take me, but I can't feel like this. And so that was huge. That was the start of my relationship with God. And then, of course, things did work out eventually because I stayed sober. There were about 2 sentences in that letter that were not necessarily kind, but hopeful for me.
Sure.
And that's what I got tattooed on me, because I got this a couple years later because I felt that I had achieved. It says, you have so much to offer and you have so many gifts to share with the world. I just hope that you can find a way to live a happy and productive life. I love you as your father, and I always will. So once I felt I had achieved that, he's funny though, they're old school. He's like, cute, but can you stop getting every card and every letter tattooed on your body? Their handwriting here. But, you know, so I don't know where I would be.
When you were saying that right there, when you were talking about that, I was thinking in my mind, she got the gift of desperation, which was the best gift that I was ever given.
Yes.
Because I know what you felt. You were like at a point where, and the same thing happened to me when I got clean this last time. I told the story the other day. Is my wife, I had been arrested, and like I was facing like 12 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
I got arrested, and I got out, and I was in rehab. I was like a week and a half sober, and I called my wife, and she said, I don't know if I can stay with you.
Oh wow.
I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I hung up the phone, and I was like devastated. I wanted to get high so bad, but at the same time, I didn't want to hurt another human being the way that I had hurt many human beings just like her ever again. And I made a decision that I was going to do whatever it took to not ever hurt another human being, because that's what hurt me the most.
And then would lead you to use, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Every time.
Cycle.
Every time it was a cycle. And I was desperate.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, you're the only thing that can stop me right now, because I'm on my way out and I don't give a fuck, and I'm about to go to prison.
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, I won't speak for everybody, but I didn't care what happened to me. No. You know, and when you have people that love you, that's so dangerous.
For sure.
And, you know, it's really wild how you say, because same here, it was like, I would say that I almost equally wanted to use as much as I wanted to change and never do this shit again or hurt anybody. And it's like that moment where wanting to change and not wanting to hurt another person outweighs wanting to get high. It is like a millimeter more.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
not much
Not at
more, but that's all that it takes. And it's really crazy. It's like they're almost neck and neck.
Yeah.
But once you do have that desperation and you're just finally like, okay, I give up.
Yeah.
It's like this much more than wanting to use. And it can very easily go, but
Either way.
And
if it goes the other way, you're fucked, because that's when the obsession, when that obsession comes, there is nothing or nobody that can stop it. I mean, what you're talking about right there is actually in the Narcotics Anonymous book. It says when the pain of remaining the same outweighs the fear of change.
Yes.
We will change.
Yes. No. So true.
And it's a powerful place to be in. And, you know, this stuff's like in these books that we, in recovery people.
And you hear it every meeting. It's the same thing all the time. They're not making it up.
You can use this. This stuff wasn't even invented for us we just grabbed it because it's so amazing.
Absolutely.
I hear it on motivational YouTube videos
People
all the
use
time.
it all the time. That's like the steps. I say
Yes.
all the time.
Oh my God, yes.
Everybody could benefit from the steps.
Everybody.
Everyone.
I wish my mother would do the steps.
It's
I
crazy.
tell her all the time.
No, my husband is a normie, and like,
Okay,
and he
I didn't know
is
that.
super all about it. Where he is
so
very
cool.
and his brain is completely polar opposite of mine. But he is fascinated because he
That is so
like,
cool.
dude, everyone would. It is amazing what
It is.
happens because he's been able to see women that I've sponsored and meet them,
them change.
first and be so broken, can't look
He's
him
like,
in the eye,
holy shit.
and then see them to where they are now, like married, has a kid, great job,
Yes.
and he's like, what in the
But also how commendable. I'm sure he like sees like what you do and how you contribute to that. And I'm sure he is so proud of you and seeing you do how people, of course it's them that does the work, but you lead them to the water that they hopefully then drink, right? Like
Sure, yeah.
it's just really cool all the way around to see
But
that.
it is so weird and full circle because you mentioned it before. Like, it's part of my requirement because what was so freely given to me, it is my duty to give back.
Yes.
Because I've also done it the other way and then relapse and things never go how they
too.
should. And it's like, dummy. That's why it's obviously advised and suggested to this way because I have to think I'm that one. I can do it
simple
differently.
program for
I will
complicated.
figure it out.
It's
I
the
will be
12th step.
I will be the one that makes it. No,
We're
sorry,
required
you're
to
not
do
special. Sit your ass
we're
down.
required to do the 12th step.
Yeah.
Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we continue to and practice these principles in all our affairs.
yeah, just do over
I mean,
and
we
over.
continue to help
We have
other
to learn it.
addicts.
Carry the message.
You said
We
it
carry the
earlier, though,
message.
because you know why?
We have to help other people.
We forget.
We forget. It is so, and especially us, like it's so
Yes.
easy.
And that's what's mind blowing to
And
me.
even if we don't, I should all lie to myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell myself it wasn't that bad, even if I know it was.
Yes.
You know, but it's
yes.
like the craziest shit in the world. Hey, my dad pressed felony charges against me, but it wasn't that bad. It's like truly, that's crazy.
I was facing a
Crazy.
7-year minimum
Like-
minimum sentence. Crazy.
but
Like, who wants to do 7 years in prison?
well, that's right. And it's like, but yeah, and to a normie, it is. It's like that's so insane.
Mm-hmm.
But we get so used to the chaos. Well, and then it's comforting too,
Yeah,
right?
of
Like it was so uncomfortable in the beginning to have such a calm, and that's why too I enjoy, you know, and I'm sure you guys relate in your own ways, but like all the things that I do in life, like I still have to feed those parts of me that are kind of crazy,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like I can
he
you
relates
relate?
like a motherfucker.
it's like you can channel that shit in a good way.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be like an unhealthy chaos or
No, totally.
But I
As
do
long as you're home by 5.
nothing good happens after midnight.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell.
Yeah.
No, at Shane's
9
house, not
p.m.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Five.
way earlier than that.
5?
Shane
5:30.
can.
When's your bedtime? When do you go to bed?
7:30.
Really?
Yeah. 8 o'clock.
Actually, I respect that because usually I don't go to bed after 9.
Yeah.
I'm like a 4 a.m.
Yes.
30 a.m. wake up.
Oh, yes.
I feel like that's the only time that like the whole world is sleeping
Yeah.
that I can actually be like drinking coffee.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
getting
And feel
up.
like
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. I mean, we are all 4 a.m.,
Yeah.
3 a.m.
Oh
club.
yes,
All
I
of it.
love that. That's
Come 2
dope.
o'clock, I'm done.
Yeah. Listen, well, that's the thing too, and I
That's a
think
little
just,
early.
You're like,
He does. I
do you
mean,
eat lunch?
half the time.
No, not on
It'll be like
Tryptophan, I don't.
3:30, and we'll be like, "Where's Shane? Where's Shane?"
Yep.
Then we'll look outside.
saying his prayers.
Yeah.
His truck. His truck's gone.
But I'll tell you something.
Putting
I'd
his
like to.
PJs
I'd like to know if there was a theme here because your parents were very involved.
Very.
Let's face it, they were involved in your recovery.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were pushing you like a motherfucker.
Yes.
Mine too. Yours is same with this guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 4
Wow.
people here are all with
We're all-
family.
It is extremely important.
It's very important.
Not everybody has that.
No.
So that
No.
in turns
It
is
really-
where we have to come in though
and help.
and help.
Yes.
those ones
this is-
that don't
that's-
For the
have
ones that
anybody.
don't. I have so many different types of stories because all I have done my whole entire adult life is work in treatment. And I have story after story after story where parents just dropping their kids off and telling
Change
us
'em.
to
Fix 'em.
Fix them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Fix them. And
Yeah,
you know,
they
but then
put
you
it
also
all-
have the helicopter parents
They
where
call
you're
every
just
day.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That
it's
was
like,
my
too much.
My
Too
mom
much,
would
slow
call
it
my
down.
therapist
Oh, really?
my first treatment stay, when I wasn't even an addict yet. They were calling the therapist every day, and I was so resentful. The other thing my mom did, love you, Mom, but that first time in treatment, she told everybody that she knew. I was getting cards, blankets. It became a joke at Michael's house.
Mine too. My mom told
okay.
everybody.
Oh my God, the amount of mail that I was getting.
Well, I want to tell you something.
Mom, I don't even know this woman.
Yeah.
And she sent
Yes.
me a blanket. Like,
Yes.
she's like, oh, that's my old friend. You don't remember so? No, I don't. And I'm also, can we not tell everybody in the world that I'm in rehab? Because I want my parents, but
Yeah.
But see, in the flip, giving our parents,
I got
giving
cards
our
from a
parents.
Baptist.
But look at their.
From the Baptist?
Well, Lutheran Baptists. My mom was
And
telling
he's
I
Jewish.
can relate.
telling the cleaning lady, pray for my son. Pray
But you
for my son.
guys,
lady.
you have to think our parents, they don't know how to handle it
No.
either.
No, you're right.
So it's
She
like
told
that's why it's
everybody.
so
You're right.
important for
Everybody.
us to have these
Bingo.
conversations because like for her, at the time you're like, what in the world? Why are you putting my shit out on the street?
Yeah.
But then on the flip, it's like some type of therapeutic
No,
way for her.
and you know what? I
It's
knew
like
that's
so
what it was.
crazy.
I knew that's what it was.
Plus, you have everyone praying for you. That's God. That's the environment.
It was
That's
her way of getting
way.
support.
Yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
And that's how I saw that. It was her way of getting support from people because she needed that.
Yeah.
And sure, I was getting it too.
You were. You were.
Oh my God,
Because
yeah.
even now, we put stuff out there in the universe. You always say good stuff. I want to be this. I want to be that.
But that's why I think this is so important.
Yes, I'm agreeing. Yes.
Starting your TikTok and going from there, and then obviously it transpired into YouTube. That's important because people we live in a social media era, and so these younger kids out here, and then or any age, whether it's like my mom watches all of our stuff, all of our guests, because I know. Even though like myself and my brothers and stuff, we have like obviously living amends. My parents are my best friend. Talk to them every day. It does something for her to hear these stories.
No, that's
to
really cool that she does that.
Oh yeah, and she's super
involved in
supportive.
it.
Like she comments on our posts and things of that nature.
Dope. But that's
Because at one point in time, I think they felt like they failed the way that they parented because they had the standard as well. Like this is not who we raised.
Well, and I know I would. All the
for
time.
sure, and it has nothing to do with them,
100%. Oh, especially addiction. But
Yeah.
That's so true because even with little things, I'm like, I ask them, I'm like, what did I do wrong? With my daughter. And she's, great, but that's such a good point that I think we just naturally as parents put some of the blame on ourselves.
For
our
sure.
Decision making.
Yeah.
Regardless of, but it's so funny because I truly, I would say, I'm the first and only one, in my whole family to struggle with addiction. And then it's like, I'm 3 years sober finding out that my mom's mom kept a bottle, of vodka under the driver's seat and was addicted to benzos. And I'm like, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't talked about.
Exactly.
It
was very taboo and
yep. And I think it was a lot more common too.
I think so too.
Well, and I think with, it being discussed more and more people started to get help. But, yeah, and, it's really, really crazy. It really is. But, and that's the other thing too with my daughter, with the timing that, thank God, I got sober and I was back just in time to send her off to preschool. And I'm also very grateful that I didn't come back until I stayed sober. I didn't come back, relapse, leave, come back. I did not come back until I had that shit. And I didn't physically get her back. And when I did physically get her back, I had her for a year before I got custody back. So it was a very slow process, but I lived in that sober living for a year before I became the house manager there. And then at a year sober exactly, I got my first little studio apartment, and then my daughter moved in with me. She lived there with me. We got a bigger place, but it took a year of her physically living with me until my parents were ready to give me my rights back.
Wow.
So it was a very slow process. And again, I'm grateful for it. My daughter is worth so much, not a quick, I'm back, I did it.
Sure.
Where's my kid? Like I say all the time, getting pregnant, having a kid doesn't give you the right to be a parent. it's such a job. And, I will only speak for my kid, but she is just so deserving of good parents. And, so I'm so grateful that I ended up being there for everything, because if I didn't discuss this to, on podcasts, on my social media platforms, and to her, she would have no idea. I could have easily done this in a way where she never would have found out I went to treatment. She never would have known I was gone. She doesn't remember me being gone. The only reason why she knows is because of how much I talk about it. You know, I mean, she came to my home group with me every week for the first year of my sobriety. She would sit in group conscious and raise her hand, and, you know, when we'd be like deciding on things for the home group, she'd be like, yep, I voted. They would joke and be like, is that all right, Miley? You cool with that? But, you know, we'd be in the church. She's like playing the piano. But, you know, she was very involved. And I think especially nowadays, I hate to say this, but aside from sponsoring, one of my favorite things is public speaking. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I do it a lot at high schools in my local area. Well, all over the city, outside of the city, I'll travel a little bit. But it feeds me like nothing else to talk to high school students. I think it's such an important age. And we had DARE. We had nothing more than the DARE program.
Yeah.
Like, I'll talk to some people and they'll say that people came to their school and they talked to them about it. I'm like, we were like told to sign a piece of paper and call it a day.
Yeah.
But today, I almost feel like you borderline have to scare these kids.
Yeah.
They have to be afraid.
Yeah.
If they are not afraid, there's too much of a risk. We would pop like an ecstasy pill before a high school dance because we weren't dumb enough to like drink and smell like booze.
Sure.
Nowadays, kids do that and they don't wake up the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the same ball game that it was. And so, you know, not only is it, you know, my journey and I want to be open and honest with my kid, but she has to be educated. It runs on both sides of her family. That scares the shit out of me. I need her to at least know where to go, who to call. If a friend is, you know, that's another really cool thing. I have a friend in the rooms. He was a real bad cokehead in Pittsburgh. He was like the South Side, typical, you know, older biker dude. But he has daughters who are older, even older now. This was when I first got sober. I knew him in outpatient. We were there together. But he had a daughter who was a little bit older. She was resentful at him for a long time for, you know, using. And then he got sober and they got close again. Fast forward, when his daughter was in high school, she had a couple friends who were using substances and she was scared, and they were her friends. She didn't want to, you know, partake in it, but she was afraid for her friends. And she went to her dad, and her dad, you know, gave these little girls resources and sent them where, and as a mom in early sobriety, that was such a big deal for me. 'Cause I'm like, that's really cool that something that was once so terrible and really hurt his daughter ended up being such a blessing. But it was the relationship and the honesty that she had with her dad that from that day on, I said, I want that with my kid. I want her to be like, Mom, they're dabbling, you know, it's freaking me out. That's all that I could ever ask.
For sure.
You know, and I had parents that were a little, you know, strict.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't as good at being honest. I was afraid. I was afraid to get in trouble.
Totally.
You know, so
Yeah, super strict isn't always the best. I mean, I can't, you know, tell people how to parent because I was too lenient with my oldest daughter. She did dabble in drugs. She is the one that found, you know, her fiance dead from fentanyl. And, you know, I was too lenient there, but I also wasn't open enough to where she felt like she could communicate that type of stuff with me. I've tried to do better. My kids too, though, have grown up in the rooms.
Okay.
2 of them have. I have a third that is a stepdaughter, and she's never really been in the rooms because I'm much older, and she didn't need to go to the rooms. But I was a single dad for a long time.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was taking my 2 kids with me to meetings. My 23-year-old, she was going to meetings in her car seat with me.
Wow.
As before she was even one. But I think it's so much more important these days to have that open relationship with your children, because you can't be naive enough to think that, number one, that your kids aren't going to try stuff.
Absolutely.
If you're that naive, then you need to be educated in what's going on in the real world.
Absolutely.
Because kids go to parties.
Yeah.
Kids drink.
It's like, or what is wrong that's causing you to not want to look at it one way or the other.
Right.
Like, I know with my mom, she had never smoked a cigarette. She had never smoked a joint.
Sure.
My parents too.
She didn't know, you know, no clue.
My parents never. My mom's like she can't stand the taste of alcohol. So
Yeah.
she's
Okay.
never been drunk.
Oh, wow.
She's never smoked a cigarette.
Yeah.
My
I
dad's
think it's
been
a
drunk
different
like
time.
3 times
That
his
too.
entire
You know?
life.
Different era. Like, my parents are very traditional, very old school.
Yep.
how we were. It's like different. It was almost like a form of weakness if you talked about anything like that. Like,
well, that's
you're
true
strong,
too.
and
And you know what? That's what's so cool too. I think about now. I think not only with sobriety, just mental health, all of it. It's like thank God it's discussed.
Totally.
And two, like men, I give a lot of credit too, because for so long you just had to be these like hard, don't show a feeling, nothing's ever wrong. And of course we as women had all of our own stigmas and things placed on us. But I think that just in so many different ways, today's world is so different. You know, men can be a little bit softer. And in my opinion, it shows strength when men are able to kind of be a little more vulnerable and open and not pretending like they're just so strong all the time. You know, women are doing more. You know, it's been so cool to build a whole career, and that's what I choose, you know, and I have friends who are stay-at-home moms and they love their lives and I envy them sometimes, but
totally.
I wanted to work hard. Yeah. I wanted to make my own money. That's again something,
and that's okay.
Yeah, and there's so many things that have changed, and I think with more people who are struggling with addiction comes more conversation about it for the ones who do get sober. Thank God, but there's so much work still to be done. So, and that's, I give you guys so much credit. Like it's such an honor to come on here and get to talk with you guys, but for you guys to do this so consistently and put so many episodes out. You know, I have people who reached out to me, you know, that watch Hopeaholics and are just think it's so cool. And, you know, some of my friends that I just like briefly mentioned that I was, you know, coming on, but you don't realize how many people this shit helps, you know, like they're just on their way to work and they're listening to an episode in their car on the way home. And it's like, it's crazy touching for people. Yeah, it really is. It's commendable.
This stuff's been like unbelievably amazing for like us because like, you know, I did this because God put it on my heart. You know, Justin passed away 2 years ago yesterday, and God put it on my heart to be the voice for the people that have lost their lives. Yeah. And to like offer hope to people that you can turn your pain into something beautiful.
Absolutely.
You know, and like I cry because I really I kind of broke down yesterday because of the exact thing you said a little bit ago about your friend. And I said this yesterday on the podcast that Justin would have gladly, and I mean that, gladly given up his life to save all the lives that are being saved through this podcast. And it's a lot because we get DMs about it all the time. Like we're one of those people, because of the space we're in, we check every single DM that goes through the Hopeaholics. So, you know, I mean, we can't get to them all same day all the time.
Of course not.
But like we get DMs saying, I'm sober because of your podcast.
That's huge.
And have no idea who these people are.
Yeah. Right.
Never met them in our lives.
And some of them you may never find that out. You know, it's crazy.
Just like people are like, I got through my withdrawals binge watching episodes.
That's crazy. That's pretty wild.
We're in the like have we hit how many episodes are we? 200? Because we should have a 200 party.
You should.
But I think like you said, it is
170 something.
The open conversation, the dialogue, because for so long, or at least I felt for so long that I was the only one, that I was like the problem. I am the problem, but I thought I was
you are definitely you thought you were unique though.
But like I thought I was like the only one that like struggled with this like ism thing, or like whether it was like I used to combat with, I don't know, maybe I'm like just have severe depression or something's not right, like just all the things that we tell ourselves.
Why can't I drink like the rest of the regular people?
What's wrong with me?
I tested it in every which way I could.
Same.
Like, okay, fine. I'm positive.
Okay, fine. I mean, and sometimes you got to get to that point,
you
man.
do.
Like if you're like me, you gotta try every
struggled with alcohol
single angle.
Right.
But here's
oh my gosh, I told my oldest brother, I went back home and he used to tell me you know, I never really struggled with that, and this is one that like he served time in prison, and I love you, Neil, you're the shit. He's amazing now. All is well. He takes care of my parents and everything. But so his life completely shifted and changed. I got sober because of him.
Oh my god, that's really cool.
He tried to tell me I never really like had a problem with alcohol. I was like, oh, for real? Because you got 3 DUIs, dog.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting. Because I'm pretty sure your record says, I don't think that's a normal thing. Sorry.
Your criminal background says that that's a lie.
Yeah, totally.
I never really had a problem with alcohol. You're same with you. You were like, I never really had a problem with alcohol, but you said you drank and then you went and
got drunk on a plane.
Got drunk on a plane, landed, and told your boyfriend that picked you up.
Yes.
Go get this.
You got to go
goods.
get me some shit,
or I'm going to him.
or I'm going to somewhere else,
or I'm calling another guy. Well, listen, he's like, what I genuinely
alcohol's not my thing.
Yeah, not a problem.
Not a problem.
Not a problem.
But I can drink.
Yeah.
I used to say all the time because I would mix the Xanax with the alcohol, right? And so
it's the
Xanax.
It was definitely the Xanax.
It was the Xanax. It wasn't the. That's what I would say. I'm like, well, I'm a drug addict. If it weren't for the Xanax, I would have been fine. I was driving I was that girl. I got it. I will drive. Let me drive. And I think too, and thank God, I had so many great therapists and sponsors that just like knocked me on my ass ego wise, but like to think you are so much better than everyone else, that you can get behind a wheel, drunk, tipsy, only one drink, whatever the case. What kind of it makes me mad. It's like, what kind of privilege do you think you have that you don't have to follow the rules? And then, I'd wreck a car and I learned after the DUI, run. Okay. Because the next day you can pass a breathalyzer, and that's what I would do. I would get a ticket for them needing to tow my car. A lot cheaper than a DUI. And it's like, it's terrible. Instead of like, hey, I got a problem. It's like, oh, I learned how to kind of like finagle
manipulate
this.
the system.
Well, and then, things just get worse because then the heroin charges started coming in, the possession charges. And then you get sober and you become a mom and you want to read to the library. You want to read to the kids in the library. And it's like,
you can't.
Sorry, kid. I'll tell you this. Huge, huge moment for me. This was when my daughter was in first grade, because I've been volunteering like a mother, like for years. I love it. Not only with the cheerleading squad, but, in actually something so ironic. I'm on the cheer board now. This is my first year on the board. And my position, part of my job, I'm in charge of all of the clearances. I print them. I put them in the binder. I just think it's so funny. I'm like, me of all people, I'm probably the only one that actually has some stuff on this piece of paper, stuff that I can still volunteer. But it's like, I used to get so embarrassed to turn those in. I would have like a little disclaimer. By the way, I'm sober now. This doesn't affect my ability to volunteer. But so it's just so wild how things come full circle. But back whenever she was in first grade, I don't know if I didn't send I don't remember exactly how this happened, but it would have been my first time volunteering. And so we had some kinks to work through and to work out. But I was scheduled to work the Valentine's Day party. I had this, I will never forget, this little Zara sweater with hearts all over it. I couldn't wait to do this. She knew. She went into school that day so excited. She's a little one in first grade. I got a phone call before I went in that because of my record, I think what it was I had to get like a further clearance.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a fingerprint, but I had to do something further because of what was on. It wasn't that it was like an absolute no. It was just that I had to do something further, and nobody had looked into it prior to the day of. So there was no way that I was working that party that day either way. I had to be the one to tell her they had to pull her out of class, a first grader, bring her into the principal's office. And I had to break the news to her I had to break her heart on Valentine's Day and tell her that I couldn't come work the Valentine's Day party. And I'll be honest, I talked about that online. I did. Like it killed me. And I mean, I think I definitely had a little bit of work to do. I think I was a little bit mad at the school. I think I was trying to place blame because I was so upset. I think I just kind of like, why would they wait until today to tell me this? Why didn't they look into it? Whatever. But either way, I think that added a lot of drive to, and I'll tell you what, I'm sure so many parents don't think twice about it. They don't want to do it. Should I get it? But it's like, for me, getting to sit, in the library or work the Halloween party or whatever it is like the greatest thing to me in the world, because there was a time where I didn't get to do that, and even for Mila, her mom not getting to do that, she's going to want me to do it that much more. And I'm going to want to do it that much more. And I'll be honest too, I won't get all into this, but I am grateful that I have a platform to talk about it on. I got bullied. Oh my God. Worse than I ever did as a kid in middle school, high school. And even into the third grade, but first and second grade, as a cheer coach, I was destroyed by these parents. They did. Oh. And I ended up finding out that it was one woman specifically for 2 years. I thought it was like a group of women that hated me. She did everything she could to get me out of there. She had a problem with everything from the way I dressed. Then it was my social media. She tried everything she could to get rid of me. I had to go to therapy over this. I mean, it destroyed me. It affected Mila. It was really rough for a long time. And
What's her name? Come on, man.
Listen,
look her up.
I'm
Get her phone number
jokingly.
for everybody.
I'll tell you one thing. God always pulls through, man, because I could tell you some stuff off, the record that it's like when you are just a good person, even with the past, and you don't judge other people, and you just keep doing the right thing, and you don't let God always prevails, and He did. But I used to joke and say, how she doesn't see that I could blast her government name on my very large. Well, it's funny too, because at the time I don't think anybody ever thought. I mean, I had other moms. You're making your little tiki-talkies. Then I bought a house a year later.
Yeah.
It's like, and I get to work from home and be with my kid at the trampoline park on a Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. And I don't knock anybody. I never did. I was knocked quite a bit, but there's so many aspects where sobriety, really.
Your little tiki-talkie.
I thought she was going to say there's so many assholes out there.
There are so many assholes.
Well, there are assholes.
Yeah, but it just shows to me exactly that you were highlighting some type of insecurity of hers.
Yes.
That maybe she was not digging deep and doing something.
You're nailing it.
At some point, you do break through that stuff, though.
Oh, my God, yes, you do.
Because at some point, that stuff doesn't matter, and then because most of the time people are like, oh, like you're making little tiki-talkies, until all of a sudden you're buying a house.
And verbatim, those were the words.
And they wish they had the following that you have. So it's like,
again, off the record, I can tell you some stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it, and I'll keep doing it. Yeah. It's like, and I even say, I'm vlogging at the airport yesterday. And, another funny thing is people, and this happens to me quite a bit. I don't care to just film in public, and some people love it. They want to know more. I had a guy who was like, what are you doing? He just thinks it's so cool. And then you have women who laugh and giggle. And it's like, are you that uncomfortable right now that I'm willing to do this? And you clearly never would be just with the way you're acting right now. That you have to that's your reaction. You have to laugh and snark at me because this makes you so, it's mind blowing, especially in today's world. But you get to a point, and this is what I learned, is that number one, this has nothing to do with me. For so long, I took it so personal.
Totally.
And
we think it's always about us.
We do. We think it's always about us when it's not.
Yeah.
2, it's not that serious.
Yep.
3, I'm not that important.
Yep.
And 4, it's projection.
Yes.
I had a therapist who saved my life. But when I went to outpatient, this 3-month outpatient, when I got sober this last time, I always say I wish I could, put her in my back pocket because she was just the best. But a room full of addicts, of course, at least 15 of us, and this was our first day. And she says, she's asking all of us as a group, what does an addict look like to you? Everybody's raising their hand, bad hygiene, maybe no teeth or dirty, whatever. And then the therapist goes, you know what an addict looks like to me? She goes, and she points to me. And of course I'm sitting there with my makeup on.
Yeah.
And I'm so appalled and offended. And she goes, people like Abbey are the ones who die. And I'm so taken back. I'm ready to, I'm mad. She's like, you think you're so slick getting over on everybody. You don't look like you do drugs. You definitely don't look like a heroin addict. I used to have cops say that too. Like, oh, she must be a newly, they would just say terrible shit to me. But she's like, you think you're getting over on people? You're only screwing yourself. Everybody else is still going to live their lives. You can fool them and they can think that you're doing great. That's not going to hurt them. It's hurting you. And she's like, and you're the ones we bury every day because they don't get help.
Totally.
And, now, of course, it's not just, but it was such a point that, anyway, that woman ended up absolutely smashing me to the ground in the best way possible, then building me up into something substantial. Actually, very full circle thing. I recently got in contact with her again. She went and started to do therapy for veterans and their wives all around the country for free. She's a really dope person. But she came back recently and opened her own private practice.
Wow.
And I am going to be seeing her again. I just filled out insurance, just got approved like for her private practice. And I joke and say, I'm like, if I can get Amanda back in my life, dude, it's everybody better watch out, baby. She was such a helpful person in my life, and so many things that she told me would happen.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, it happened, you know. And
little
she wasn't there years later for me to say you were right, but she was. You know, again, like all those people along the way that just are a piece of the story, especially when you don't have people, and that's why it was so important. Backed in a corner, not having your family, I had no choice but to reach out to women I was uncomfortable and didn't want to call. But what do I say? And it's like I had no choice eventually, and thank God for that.
Yeah.
Thank God my choices were stripped.
Lewis, can you put the camera on Shane real quick?
What was
All right, that's good.
I was just thinking it's true. You need family. You need women. When I was fighting with my wife at the beginning 17 years ago, she would start arguing. I'd have nothing to say to her. I'd just drop her off at the women's home and say, you gotta get her to the car.
Oh.
I can't.
Were you using?
No.
You were sober?
Sober.
Oh, was she using?
No. She was sober too. She was just whacked out.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And I couldn't help her because she was complaining about me, or I would do this or do that. I said, listen, you got to deal with your issue. You know, I would just drive her and drop her off.
Wow.
I remember one time. Wow, that was a deep breath. I remember one time I actually had to physically drag her out of the
Pick
car.
her up.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And say I had put her on. She was crying. I had to put her on the grass, and I just drove
rough.
away.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my God. Like literally drop her
literally,
off.
under her hand. I remember under her armpits. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
What we do.
And here you guys are 17 years later.
17 years
Full
later,
circle.
man.
Good
Full
for
circle,
you.
yeah.
That's
3 kids.
incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Or 180, I
Wow.
should say.
Does she go to bed at 7 too?
No, she does not. 10 o'clock.
Oh, look at her. She's a late night. No, does she wake up earlier?
No. Well, she was with the kids. Yeah, we got 3 kids.
Well, okay.
Feeds them, gets
How
them.
old are your kids? How old are they?
15, 13, and 7.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you have
Okay.
ever thought? You have a 7-year-old?
7.
Well, yeah,
That's
Coco was
crazy.
5.
I thought she was 5 too.
She's 6. You're right. She's 6.
Something like
She's
that.
thick?
Whatever. Either way, same thing.
It's these glasses are so thick
Yeah.
that my ears are getting sore.
Really?
Oh, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes the top
Yeah.
of my head
Yeah.
will start to hurt.
Oh, I
Yeah.
bet from
You
wearing
know?
a lot.
Yeah.
Or earrings.
Oh, yeah.
But I want
that
to tell you
Apple
something.
had
Without family, without you finding God, without you putting this village, and I really talk about that a lot, that when you grow up, they say, there's that old saying, the kid needs a fucking village. When you're an adult, you have to make your village. And
You
if
do
and if
because you don't always. It doesn't always exist.
Yeah.
Right.
It never exists. 'Cause
Well,
you-
especially in sobriety too, because if you
Oh,
hang
you
out with
have to
if,
build
even in
it.
if you
fucking
hang out,
normal life, well, who has 10
you
good
are
friends?
You are who you
surround yourself with.
surround
I will
yourselves.
forever believe that. I tell
do
my
too.
daughter that every day.
110%.
100%.
You do. You are, and what do they say? You're a makeup of like
Yeah.
the 4
Yes.
people you surround yourself
Yes.
with most on a daily basis.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
I'm
what
like,
does
I don't
that
think
say
I have
about
four
us?
friends.
Bro,
Fucking great
Dude.
you are.
I know.
That's so incredible. You guys
bro.
are so lucky to have me around.
I'm
It's
like, what-
amazing.
Do I
Oh,
have like a
shit.
slice of
Wow.
craziness in
And I'll
me?
tell you
Yeah.
something. I really rub
I
off
do?
on people,
I do
man.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
How many
You're best-
Hopeaholics does it take to turn a Tesla off?
Oh my God. Not all of us.
Well,
We learned.
we had.
chimed in
not
too
only
late.
did we have regular Hopeaholics, we had the executive crew of
Yes.
the
Oh,
yeah.
Hopeaholics.
We had
Yeah.
Catherine.
You know,
Yeah.
I
she's-
will say
she's-
that made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
She's a medical doctor.
yeah.
I
Wow.
will say I started to worry as soon as she went out, and there was still.
And then we
lot
were-
going
we
on,
were-
and then
Nobody
that's
was
what I
in.
was
We
like,
were
what's happening?
doing our vlog from the top of the stairs, just doing play by play, because just trying to figure out what he's doing
Yeah,
and
because
what's
we're
going
like,
on in
taking
his
him-
head.
What's he doing? I didn't want him to be out there too long with you by himself.
She was
Because
parked-
of like he's gonna
she
say
was-
something
She
and
was
she's
pulling down there, and I'm waiting for her.
Well, no, so
We were
I-
like-
Actually,
Yeah.
it was so
In
funny.
the corner.
I went around the back. There was one spot open in the back, but they were all doing like they were all smoking.
oh yeah,
So then I back up, and they're all watching me.
Yeah, of
I'm like,
course.
don't screw this
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
Reversing in the Tesla, and he comes up. The one kid, he's like, "You can park here." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And then I see him come. He's like,
Waving.
"No, you come over here." I'm like, "I'm gonna follow him."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
first it was I couldn't find my lip liner, and you were patient. You were so kind and patient, and then I was like, oh my God, I can't. How do I tell him
that I
can't turn this
well,
off?
It's funny
I love
'cause
it.
when I was
I
talking
think it's
to Peter,
awesome.
so here's me
Best.
talking to Peter.
That would be
Well,
me.
I was looking out other windows because I couldn't find you anymore, and I saw you talking to Peter, and I was like,
and then
I was
I
like,
stand on a
wait.
chair.
And I want to tell you why I was talking to Peter because
This shit was funny what
Yeah, it
happened
kinda
while you
was.
were out
I was
there.
eyeballing her thinking, is she doing her makeup? I don't want to
That's what we thought.
I don't want to
As
make her
girls,
feel
I was like,
uncomfortable.
she's
I don't
just
want to make
touching
her
her
rush.
face.
I want to take
No,
her
I
time.
wouldn't have been. It's one thing to like reapply some lipstick. Oh my God, I would have never done that. That would have been so. In my opinion, that would have been so.
Oh my
rude.
God, that's
Here's
funny
my
because
first
me and
impression,
Emily,
just
we
sitting
were
here.
both were like, I bet she's touching up, and then you were taking a really
Yeah.
long time, and then we looked at her
Like, something's
ourselves and we're
wrong.
like, okay,
So we
That's like a
went
extra
and look out other
makeup.
windows, and Shane's walking around, and we're vlogging, and Natalie's like, and now Shane is very confused.
yeah.
And then
Play
Catherine
by
got
play.
in the car, and we were like, maybe they don't know how to shut off the car. And then
Bango.
this was all on. We have it all on video.
I
too.
love that.
So
by the way.
then
Yeah.
Catherine gets out, and we're like, and you get in, and then Catherine's kind of leaning in, talking to you, and we're like, oh my God. Shane said something stupid to her,
She's
and
gonna
now
come.
she's leaving, and Catherine's
I
trying
know.
to
I'm
talk
like
her
now,
out of it.
now she's just about
Wait,
to run
that's
into
so
the tree,
funny.
try to
Listen,
escape.
that I'm going to tell you this, and it's not a challenge, but it would take a lot. It would take a lot for you to say something for me to turn around. Cause
Yeah.
For
but
sure.
It's so funny because I said I'm like it's going to be something so simple. Never would have thought as simple as don't do anything.
Yeah, I know. As soon
What?
as then Chad goes down, and then I'm like, is it really? Because
I asked Shane if they chat GB.
Is that
Yeah.
what got it?
I-
ChatGPT.
I ChatGPT'd
Google
it.
was telling us
And then-
apps. This,
Oh, really?
That. Oh yeah. And I'm like, what I kept saying is, I'm like, but the valet boys got it to turn off. So I know you don't need an app. I know you don't need any of this stuff.
Yep.
But that's what Google. I can't.
Oh, you're right, because I Googled it. So everybody leaves now. Now it's by myself. I'm with, I think, Brooke.
Doing your own
so
research.
I did Google really quick, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because it does say an app. I asked ChatGPT, and I was like, dude, all she got to do is walk away from
Close
the
the
How
door and
funny
walk
that
away.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like ChatGPT.
So do
I do
I.
too.
I
do too.
It's dope.
I
like,
use it often.
So do
Yeah.
I. I have
You
been
can
as
actually
well.
find stuff. Like I'm like,
about for
how
today?
do I? Yeah,
It told
today.
it today is answer better than Google.
I was like, I did it for our
That's
PA,
what's
our
crazy.
PA
Yeah.
system. I said, how do I build a PA system? And it gave me, and I even gave it like
I don't think I
price
realize
range.
all the things you can ask.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have never thought to
you
ask
can
it.
Neither do I.
manipulate it. Like
Question.
you ask it literally
It
whatever
knows,
you want.
it knows everything.
I'll
and
do it
then
with
some
content.
that's on
I'll
the
say-
internet.
See,
Ooh,
that's
that's
good to
smart.
know. I'll say like, here's what I want to do. Can you help give me like 3 video
Smart.
ideas on
Smart.
this topic? Bangs them out.
Bangs them out. Yep.
A bio about me, like I can name everything that I want to mention, but then it put it in a way. Yeah, there's
Dude, I did that the other day, and I was mind blown.
Right?
It
You're
wrote
like,
me the
I could
dopest
never
bio.
write this about
I was
myself.
like, what?
You should see Shane's bio. We
Did you chat GPT?
we chat GPT'd it, and then
check
it
it
was
out.
all this like professional bio, and Shane was like, I don't like that, and I was like, well, so I gave it all this information about where he's from, and it did like a comedy bio.
Yeah.
with that
Oh,
he
no
was
way.
that he was born
In the wilderness.
in the wilderness,
The coyotes or
the
something.
coyote
God.
raised
I
by
love
the,
that.
and we actually
the
gave
wolves.
that bio out to
You did?
one of our speaking engagements. Yeah, why not?
Heck yeah, man. Oh, that's
Hilarious.
fun.
We love we love public speaking too.
I love to
Like,
hear that.
that's-
I've seen recently a couple of things that you guys have done. That it's just so dope. It truly, that stuff that fills me the most, especially with the kids, like those high schoolers. And that's been another really cool thing with having Mila in some of the content. It's obviously attracted
Sure.
younger
Yes.
ones. And what's so wild is they're the ones that are like, one of the biggest things is the co-parenting, right? They either are in a similar situation and they just enjoy it, or they're in a really bad situation with their parents and they get comfort out of, how I co-parent Mila or, whatever. Like I'll talk about, and this is preference, there's nothing wrong with it either way, but I will talk about how I will always pack her bags for her dad's, because she deserves that same foundation and that same chance that every other kid does. She shouldn't have to start off at home with a harder, now don't get me wrong, she's chores, she has other responsibilities, but she deserves the same standard starting point to build whatever she wants to build off of as everybody else. And then I have kids in the comments that are like, like, oh, my mom gets mad at me if like I forget something or if I don't pack right and it's stressful. And it's not in a judgmental way. It's, oh, how cool that they can watch this and then the other thing is they have parents that struggle with addiction.
Wow.
I would have never thought that kids would watch me, because so many, including mine, are only allowed on YouTube. Like, if it were up to me, my kid will never have TikTok. Cross that bridge when we get there. But so there's a lot of them, and they do. They say, my mom is struggling or my dad is struggling, and it's really eye opening, and it also blows my mind at how young they are and how unfortunately just much they know about it because they're clearly experiencing it.
Yeah,
it's like it's heartbreaking, and at the same time, I'm glad that I can do that. So that, I want to say, I guess, is something that I didn't expect, but another benefit of having Mylon that I would have never saw coming,
No, for sure.
It's like now they're watching.
Well, I think it also, you said it where your therapist mentioned something, and I think it's very important because as addicts, some of us are really good at putting on the facade.
Oh, my God.
We can clean it up and pretend everything is okay and we're dying inside.
Yeah, I'm scary good at that.
Oh, me too. But it goes to show too, like, kids are coming to your channel regardless of where they're at, right? Whether it's like their parent might be struggling with addiction and the mom or the dad think they're slick.
Yeah.
Think that their kid has no idea.
That's so true.
That, mom is maybe falling asleep or dad's falling asleep or mom and dad are arguing.
Yeah.
Whatever
that
is,
drink my mom drinks every night and she completely turns into a different person.
Exactly.
It's like,
and they think they're getting it over because Johnny is only 7 or 8 when now they're going on to say like finding some type of comfort because the conversations aren't being had. And that's why it's important for us to have these conversations talking about it.
It's a very good point that you bring up. It's just another reason why it's cool to have.
Yep.
Because I never would have thought, I'm online talking about drugs and then there's like these kids that are just like, I love your YouTube. It's so funny, but at the same time, it's very important. And it was eye opening to me when I first started speaking at high schools because the amount of kids, and this was really touching. At the beginning, I had a hard time, and I would even hear this from teachers. The very first time I spoke at a high school, it was a home ec teacher that invited me in, and she said that nobody else, no other class, no other part of the school was willing to discuss addiction. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to bring in a speaker and I will take up one of our days so that my students can hear this woman speak. And I kept in touch with that lady. But after I ended up going back again, and the reason when she called me to invite me back, she said like 2 kids went to the guidance counselor and admitted that a parent had a problem and was like dangerous in the home. Another one themselves went and admitted they had an issue. And I just like broke because one, I guess I didn't realize, I mean, I do know, but I guess when you're presented with it, the kids this young are struggling with this shit. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But it was also very, touching that, and I keep in touch with a lot of them. A lot of them, found me on Instagram and I found them and I follow them and I see their stories and they're in college now and they're following their dreams. And, one kid that was addicted to something and now I think he got a scholarship for sports and I watch him and he's, young, but it's really cool. And there's something very healing about it. I was so naive to all of this. And that's what's so interesting about my daughter's dad. He was right in the middle of it all. Mm-hmm. With his family, he never wanted that because he saw it. And then I had no idea what this shit was. And I'll be honest, I was one of those people that's like, well, I know heroin's bad. Why would I touch it? So why would you? I didn't understand the disease factor of it until I experienced it myself. And I also didn't even know what AA was when I first started using. I mean, I was clueless, but I think that's why it was so triggering for my daughter's dad when when I started lying about, buying substances on the streets, and it just killed him because he knew he had seen for himself. So it was a really interesting dynamic of, you would think it would have been the other way around. And also his parents, for the most part, stayed together. His whole life, he grew up in one household. He wasn't going back and forth.
Okay.
My parents are still together to this day. And here we are raising a daughter in split home. Neither one of him or I know what it's like for her. We don't, And so I try to give her that space to, I don't know, talk about it or tell. She never really does. But if she ever wanted to, I would listen. I'd shut up and I would listen. I think that's one thing as a parent that I strive to do is just learn from her and not be this like know-it-all parent that's just like, respect me, be quiet, listen.
Sure.
I want to listen to her, you know? I was saying last night, now to a degree, because when I first got sober, she was really young. I was very newly sober, and she didn't have much discipline. There were a whole lot of grandmas raising her. So as you can imagine, she was bad.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a bedtime, and there was no discipline. And so here I was, as young as she was resentful at me. She was pissed. You know, here goes her life again, yet again, being up and changed. And now she's coming to mom's house, and her schedule is different because mom is sober. And she was resentful at me. And I don't think she knew it, but I could see it through her action. And even through that, of course, all I wanted was for her to like me and not be mad at me. But she needed structure and she needed discipline. And I was the only one providing that. And so for a really long time, the first 2 years, I would say, of my sobriety, I would cry in the closet almost every night and pray to God. And I'd be like, just please, I don't know, somehow give me a sign, show me that I'm doing the right thing. Because this feels very shitty. I feel very shitty. She's upset. I have hurt her. But here I am disciplining her. Not overly, but just what she needed. And there was a time I was giving her a bath. She was really young. But I don't know, maybe she was no older than 4. I think a little younger, but and she screamed, "I wish you never came home from California." And she said it, and then she turned white as a ghost. It was like she couldn't believe what she had just said. But it was truth, you know, like she was speaking. She was so young to say that. Wow. And I broke.
Yeah.
Immediately. "Mommy, I'm so sorry. Mommy, I'm so sorry." But I tried really hard to give her the space, because though she was sorry for hurting my feelings, she meant it. Well, she was hurt, right? Maybe she didn't mean that she really didn't want me to come home. I'm sure, but the pain was real. And, you know, and that was just hard for me. And I heard something, oddly enough, not even from a parent, somebody who's not a parent, who gave me, who told me this quote, I guess you could call it, that I will never forget and have lived by ever since she said it. But she said, if you want to be you can be a parent now and you will have a friend for life, or you can try to be a friend right now and you can be a parent for the rest of your life. And that hit me so hard. And I'm like, you know what? That's so true. I want to have a friend in my kid for life when she's older. But if I try to be that friend right now, I'm going to have to parent her forever. I'm going to be enabling her. That was such a profound, for me at least, such a profound statement, I think, with where I was at that time. And it really pushed me through that. And I have to say, dude, like, I hardly have to discipline her. She's so good. Like, I can look at her a certain way and she kind of sits up straight, you know? And not in like a fear tactic sort of way. It's just, we went through it. We went through the motions. We went through those harder times. And I proved myself to her, you know, over time, not with words, but with my actions. And I think that healed a huge piece of us. And then I showed her discipline and structure, which I think translated to love for her, which she made very clear. And I'm really, really grateful for our relationship today. I really am. But in the beginning, it was so hard. And I didn't have much reassurance from anybody. Sure. Because everybody else around her was enabling her. And I think probably because they felt bad. Yeah. Understandably. She was put through a lot at a young age. But again, being back just in time to send her off to preschool, I've never missed a parent-teacher conference. I've never missed anything. So, I'm just really grateful.
I think it's a testament, though, of you staying strong and working on not only yourself, but a solid foundation to come into that mom position again, because I feel it would be very easy to falter and want to be her friend and want to be liked.
The guilt was so real. You're exactly right. All I wanted was to make her happy all the time. I wanted to say yes all the time. I had to be so intentional. And even now, it's been a journey, because, I'm really grateful that I've gotten to the place that I have. And it's been really cool that she's been able to literally watch me do this, and to see tears stream down her face when I told her that I bought us a house. And now the other part of that, though, that shouldn't make a kid so fucking emotional. Like, that's what you do as a parent. Sure. And not that you have to buy, but you provide your kid a home. And, there was something huge about buying a house. And I think for her and I, it was like okay, we're finally going home, for the first time we're going home. And as much as I think for any normal kid, it wouldn't have been so emotional. And part of me feels bad about that. More than anything, it was special because she's been on this journey with me. And every promise I've made to her since the day I got sober, I've kept. I mean, we were in this teeny little loft when I left the sober living. We shared a bed, a closet, a bathroom. There was no family room. Like, it was just this little one room. And I said, one day you're going to have your own bedroom and you can decorate it however you want. And then the next lease, we did. And she chose Frozen themed. And then I, unfortunately couldn't afford her school district. So the poor kid had to wake up an hour earlier than all her friends. And she couldn't take a bus because we weren't in the district. And I'm driving her back and forth. We're living in the city because it was cheaper. And I promised her, I said, one day we're going to get a place, where you live or where you go to school, which was where I grew up. It's an expensive area. And then a girl, this is, oh my God, so rare. There's no houses to rent out there. But there was. And this guy wanted to sell it. He didn't want to rent it out when this girl was leaving. I jumped in there. So I told her, don't even clean it. Just take what you want, leave the rest. And I jumped in there. It was bad. But we lived there for 2 years. And then actually a tree fell on it and crushed it, which was a traumatic.
Whoa.
Yeah, real traumatic. Thank God my kid wasn't there, but me and the dogs were. And that was actually, we just came up on a month ago. It was a year to the date, but it led to me buying my house. And I think with my success with social media, I would not have necessarily done that so soon. But when that happened, we were ready. But either way, to be able to tell her, the house we bought was 2 streets up from, the one that we were living in. But there was just something to be said about that. And it meant so much to her. It's so much more than buying a house. It stood for so much, and it was an equal effort. It wasn't just me and like working and the money. It really the dynamic of her and I and what we had built and what we had accomplished together, and her patience with me, whether she knows it or not. She did. She had a lot of patience, and so it was huge. And we've had a lot of fun, and I'm still making more promises. They're just getting bigger and scarier.
For sure.
Again, the higher you climb, right? But
Yeah.
Totally.
not stopping.
The lonelier it gets.
You know what? That is true. And what I've been learning recently is people start to act crazy, like truly. The more you grow and the higher you climb, colors of that you never know existed in people start coming out, and people start acting real funky.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then therefore, your circle gets smaller.
Very
Circle
much.
gets smaller and smaller. I mean, I think it's important, and at some point, whenever this happens for you, you're at a point in your life right now where you've done so much work, and that person will eventually appear for you if you sit around and because that's the thing that like I do want to say, like but it's really cool that you're becoming successful like this on your own.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
It really does, because that's been the hardest part.
And eventually when there will be so much satisfaction when that person comes that is of equal value to her. I
can't tell you how much I appreciate hearing that.
Because she talks about it a lot on how, and we as like married people, like that is my circle. Like the rest of my circle at this level that I'm at in my life, these guys are all my business partners.
No, I say that, and I'm like, it's lonely.
I don't have a friend.
Oh my God, no, I get. And
I'm not a dude's dude though, so
I get.
I could probably have a friend.
Yeah,
that's not me.
Choose not to.
No,
I get it, and I always say I have a lot of acquaintances.
Totally.
Right. Very few friends, and it's funny too, doing what I do with social media. Now the friends I do have, they're all over the country, and it's really cool. We were just talking about this last night. I turned 30 in October, and we're going to go to New York City. 6 of my friends actually paid to book a flight and paid to split this Airbnb to go to New York City for me. And I mean, I've been crying about it for weeks because I still can't even fathom.
Dope.
I've never had a birthday party before. I've been a mom since I was 19, and I've always celebrated with my parents and my kid. And so, I mean, I've never had a birthday party or celebration with friends since being a mom. And this time, sure, it's a testament to my sobriety, but it's also a testament to my success in my business because I met a lot of these people, through including a connect that helped, me get here today that is coming to the celebration. And so, it is really cool. But to what you're saying, number one, I always say I refuse to settle until or unless it is somebody that will show my kid exactly what she deserves and who she should be with. And it will never, ever be anything less. Until then, even if I, die single, which I have already accepted could happen.
Not happening.
Well, but here's the thing. For some reason, I'll tell you this, and this I heard in church, and it helped me. Accepting it is what made me feel more so like it'll happen.
Totally.
It took away the fear of like, what if it doesn't?
And also,
and that's why I did it.
And then worrying about and picking the wrong person.
That's
because
right.
That
you're
is
in some hurry
like that is the thing. Like, I feel you. I got divorced at like 40, and then I was single for a couple of years, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm getting old. And I was like, am I going to ever find
Well, I have to tell
person?
you that's inspiring to hear. I always say too, like when people too have like older children, because people, and then younger, like people ask me all the time, they're like,
My mom had 2 kids. She was 19, got remarried. I was 11, 12, 13. My brother was 10 or 11. The guy adopted us. They've been married now 35, 40 years.
Yeah, I love.
And he calls that guy dad.
I love stories like that.
My grandfather told my mother, it's not hot potatoes.
Yeah.
Relax, take it easy, just live right.
Well, and so I'll tell you, I'm like a long-term relationship girly. So I've been in I haven't been in many relationships because every one I'm in for at least a year. I'm like a psycho. Like my sponsor used to say to me at a few years sober, she'd be like, dating, what that means, right? Like you can go on dates with different people. Like you don't have to go on a date and then date the guy for 2 years and then have this like blow up thing. And now because my kid's dad and I split up when Mila was 1. We have not been together in 8 years. And so when I say ex, a lot of people think I'm talking about him. And I think it's just because that's the only person I've shown on social media. So it does make sense. But my most recent partner, who I met in the rooms, turned out to be a total maniac. The only thing he was sober. No work had been done.
Oh, yeah, that's rough.
And I had gone through yet another thing that my, friends and people around me, well, you can help other women. I'm like, I don't want to go through another thing to where I can listen. I love helping people, but I just got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to keep going through these like
maybe you
traumatic,
shouldn't pick him anymore.
things.
Maybe you should someone else pick him.
So that, but also since that guy, I have been single. This is like crazy, but going on 4 years now.
Wow.
Here's what's like not good though. It's starting to scare me. I haven't even gone on a date in over 3 years. And I'm not like afraid to by any means. Like I don't think I would be. I'm afraid that I'm going to get too comfortable being alone. There is a part of me that will struggle and have to have boundaries with my kid. Cause like you're saying, that's your people. And when I go home after a day, when something crazy happens, I don't have anybody to tell. I can't say like, oh my God, guess what happened today? And so I have to catch myself to have boundaries with my kid.
Sure.
Because, I want to talk to her because she's the only one there. And she's only there half the week, and then it's the dogs.
Yep.
There's 2 of them. I'm going to be.
Yeah, you can tell them everything, though. You can tell the dogs.
Sure can. And I do. And I do.
My wife's probably sitting at home right now talking to her
hanging
dog.
with the dogs. But I'll tell you what.
She loves him more than me.
Right? I will truly, though, never settle because I have gotten myself to a place where I don't need a man for anything. And that's just not even in a physical sense or tangible, but even, validation wise, I got it all. Like I'm
financially.
good.
I mean, and that's a good
happiness,
place.
all
Because
of the things, you're okay. You're unbreakable.
Yeah.
And that's when you will meet your significant other.
That's a good
That's
place
what I'm
to
praying to God
That's
about.
a good place to be, and that's where everybody should
agree.
be
Yes.
before they do this next step, because the next step, it can be a beautiful thing, and it doesn't. I disagree with people when they say marriage and stuff is hard. Sure, it's a little bit of work.
Everything is.
After a couple of years when the honeymoon phase goes away, you still need to remember to put in some work and say, babe, you're still beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
Or just,
I love
move
you.
on.
If you don't put in the work, I think that's when it becomes hard, and then it's
Yes.
just like this complaining
Completely.
over putting in the work.
Yeah, I don't think my wife goes and complains about me she probably complained about me more in our early days
Maybe to
because
the dogs,
I was
but
a little bit too aggressive all the time.
Okay.
You know, I wanted
But I think
wanted a lot.
that's where communication and having like your own personal
Yes.
boundaries and standards. Like for me, my husband, we will get divorced if I do not work a program. That is,
And you know that.
I
Like,
know
that's
this
incredible.
because I have relapsed in front of him trying to prevent
Okay.
him
Said
to ignore me.
one is
and he
good.
got to see,
One's
and
good.
he got to see that. So it's like for me, that's a good boundary because I'm really good at manipulating and pretending and doing all
Yeah,
that thing. I
right
can't.
there with
So it's
you.
like as long as I'm keeping my side of the street clean and doing what I need to do, that's our boundary. So
No,
it's
I
like
love that.
like him and his partner, same thing. They have their Donna and I love
I
their
have a
wives.
wife. I have a wife.
No,
not a
he's
partner.
he's gay.
I have a wife, not a partner.
He's
Okay,
totally,
partners.
he's
People
totally
say
gay.
partner.
Partner would be
Needed-
gay.
needed to
Everybody-
clarify. Not necessarily, but you're funny for clarifying it.
That's hilarious.
I think in today's
Everyone knows you've married a Marin. Calm down, crazy man.
the comments are going to be like, congratulations.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Jeez.
Chuck
He's out of the
Zamzow,
closet.
Chuck Zamzow, if you make it this far, please say something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
funny.
care what.
But
Anything.
ultimately, I think that's solid for you. Like you've come
I
to a point in
appreciate
your
it.
life. You've done a lot of work. You've worked on yourself, your family, and doing all of the things and building the solid foundation for
Totally.
you then to now be able to enjoy what a partner is.
Right.
And that's someone that you walk through life with as together.
Yeah.
In unity, not where you're reliant on.
Well, that's
the
how
other
people
person.
end up, like you said, in toxic or bad
Yes.
because you're seeking something.
Yes.
When there is nothing to seek, and it is, and I say this too, the only reason I will ever end up with somebody today where I'm at now is because they add value to my
Yes.
life. That's it.
Yes.
Because I don't need
Exactly.
anything. And if and I think too, what I'm most proud of with that is my daughter and
Yes.
her watching that. Because like I said, unless or until, but I do like to believe because I've done this and gotten myself to that point that God will
yeah.
reward me.
Oh, yeah.
Of course I have my days where I'm like, I'm getting older.
Of course. That's normal.
I know I'm young. I do that, but I have a lot of
You're
faith.
29.
And I say
you haven't
too,
turned 30 yet.
you know what else I always say? Marriage is the only thing that I haven't fucked up yet. And I don't care if I am
I fucked it up.
50. Well, and hey, it's all right, but I have screwed up so many things. Everything, from having a kid at 19. If I can do this one right, I will be very proud of that. And so if I have to wait until
Exactly.
I'm 50, if my kid is like off living her own life and I meet my man and we retire in Boca, who knows?
And you guys are
what's in the
vlogging together,
We're-
doing your YouTube channel together.
Hopefully we're
But look
retired
at all the work
knows?
ethic and
Oh, hey,
what you're
you know
showing your
what?
daughter.
We're
Might be
50,
fun.
and we're 50. Not her. We're
Yeah,
50.
don't throw me in that. Don't throw me in that loop.
We're 50 and we're vlogging.
Well, when you came out today with the so much respect. I love it. I vlog everything all the time.
I need to get better.
And you know
I need
what?
to take a piece out of your book because I'm too
It's
in
hard.
my head.
Yeah,
I get nervous.
I
We-
think
we-
I
to
get
be out
that.
in the public.
I get that.
Put me in front of a camera anywhere else.
Yeah,
I'll
you love
sing and
it.
dance.
Love it. I think
These two right here are insane when you put a camera in front of them.
that's.
But when
so
I'm
fun.
by myself, like how you were talking, it
Like out in
inspired me
public,
today about
hard.
you were like in the
He'll do it
airport
in
and you're
public.
doing your thing, and I'm like, I
Remember
need to
when
be
I'll
we-
like
tell
that.
you what it is. It's if you can just get yourself to do it once around people
Okay.
and you get the reaction where people just and what I said today is a rarity. Like people aren't like snickering a lot. What it typically is, and I say the same thing about public speaking. One, we're not that important.
Totally.
Right? And
So
vlogging's different. I'm like, with this camera, I got a light attached. I'm like holding a tripod.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and maybe this is a good place to start. Sometimes if it is like if there's a lot of people around me, I'll vlog on my phone. Like I'll do
Okay.
sideways. That's a good place to
That's
start.
what Emily told me to do.
It's not as dramatic.
Yeah.
Because I have it on me. This can be a lot.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
And this isn't even that big.
No, it isn't.
But this is me at the airport. I'm like, this, but what'll happen is people, they'll do a double take and then they keep walking. And you're like, oh, nobody cares. They don't. They really don't. And then even, I have to admit, when I say like, oh, so-and-so like snickered or laughed when they walked by me, for all I know, they like something that their friend said was funny. Again, it's not always about me. And sometimes I'm like 99%
And you're never
sure.
going to see the person ever
That
again.
is my other biggest thing.
Ever again.
Imagine holding yourself back in your life because somebody that you are never going to see again, you are worried.
Laughed at you.
And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to, and they don't care. If I will say the other thing, more so is people are intrigued or they respect it that you're willing to do that. And so many people, I think, especially today, want to do it. There was a recent study. There was a statistic. I don't remember how many people they grabbed or what area, but they asked people, would you quit your 9 to 5 or whatever your job is that you went to school for or whatever degree to do social media or content creation if you could? It was over 50% said yes.
Wow.
And so you don't realize that when people see you doing it, it almost inspires them a little bit too. So again, even when I'm like, oh, they were laughing, do I really know that? You know, not necessarily, but yeah, I would say start with your phone sideways if you're doing like YouTube vlogging is a really great place to start. But then you just start to realize, like with public speaking, I started to learn that I'm like, they are thinking about what they're having for dinner. Totally. Why isn't their boyfriend texting them back? Yeah. We are so self-absorbed as humans. It's just how we are. Mm-hmm. I think us as recovering addicts, we do a great job at trying not to be.
Right.
But the rest of the world, like, you know, we were saying, we are so selfish.
They're not thinking about you as soon as they leave.
No.
Leave your sight.
No.
Absolutely. Half of them aren't listening to what we're saying. And we are so concerned with how we're being perceived all the time. And, you know, I get it. There's so much grace around it because it's a hard thing. But no, I love that. I love how we can help each other with different things. Sure. You know?
I mean, literally, didn't you have to do shit in public when you were on Total Divas?
Oh, yeah.
But see, that was probably like a whole production.
And it was a group. And it was a huge production.
Yeah.
Huge camera. Like, it's basically like, out of the
look
way,
real, and you
we're
look real
filming a scene.
Yes.
So you look like, okay, they're doing something of importance.
Absolutely.
Where like me with my phone.
Me and my camera.
Yeah, but they're gonna,
you know?
people are gonna, if you're,
it's just in my head.
Here's the thing. If you're walking through the airport with your dog, she's got a badass protection dog.
You bring, I love that. That's dope.
And you're doing this. I get it. It's going to bring even more attention than you're
like,
already
oh,
getting.
God, calm down, pink-haired girl. Sit down.
Well, and you'll find, here's the other thing too. Okay, for example.
And the thing is like, you know what? Fuck you.
Well, right. You're never going to see most of the time these people again. And that's why I always say, imagine holding back your dreams for people you'll never see again. But also, just using the airport as an example, because that was what we were talking about. You can also find like cracks and crevices that work for you. So like film like a little update when you're in the bathroom and nobody's in there, or when you're sitting down and you're just like,
so true.
You know what I mean? You don't have to, I'm on the tram, you know?
Yeah.
And even then a lot of people are curious.
It was a lot more fun when it was like the three of us and Emily was filming and we were on the fucking tram and this dude's a fool out in public. Yeah. Like, he's got, you know, the poles on the tram.
Oh,
he's holding onto the pole and saying, should I start dancing?
Oh my God.
And then there's like all these older people on and there was ladies in there and he was like, I don't know, remember, but next thing I know, he's saying, if one of the ladies says yes, I'll take my shirt off.
Oh my God.
And I'm literally like, you guys are embarrassed.
You're like, I don't know him. Well, hey, at a time like that, you can pull your camera out and that's the last thing they care about. So yeah, maybe start vlogging when Shane's around.
I know.
He'll take all the heat off of you. No, I'm kidding. But
the groups.
It's baby steps. And then I think you'll get to a point where you're like, you know what? This is more important to me than what these people
for sure.
Think, but it is so much easier said than done, and I totally get that.
Yeah, that's why I think it's amazing, and probably why that one specific mother wanted to bully you initially is because you have what it takes is people that we admire or anyone that is stepping outside the so-called normal box.
Yep.
It's it makes people feel uncomfortable and it's courageous and it shows you have balls.
She's gonna be famous.
Yeah, you know? So it's like all those things and it's like, no, you rolled the dice on yourself and wanted to do something and you took a chance on yourself and you went for it.
And I appreciate that. And the biggest thing that I say, because obviously she has a daughter, my daughter's age, and then she has an older daughter. One, that's terrifying. But two, I always say the same thing. If I ever if I ever had the chance to say one thing to her about it, which I never would waste my time, I would say, I just pray that nobody ever treats your daughters the way they treated me, especially if they were vulnerably following their dreams that they were rolling the dice on.
Yeah.
I could have easily failed,
Sure.
right? And I still would have been proud that I did that and wasn't afraid to, but it's just like, shame on you. You have kids, you have daughters, and what scared me the most is that they're being raised alongside mine in the same district, the same age, and look at the way you're treating me. But my thing in that whole situation was, how do I respond? Because my kid's watching me, and I responded with grace. There's so many things I wanted to do. I wanted to say, I wanted to call her out. I wanted to make videos, but I handled it with grace. And I can't say this because it'll be obvious who the person was, but I'll tell you off camera, there was a moment where I really could have, I guess, rubbed it in, and instead I chose to be really kind and show this exact person grace. And I think that's what I'm most proud of. It's like, I still am not going to stoop to your level.
Totally. Because
it's not who I am.
You wouldn't feel, it would feel good for 1.5 seconds.
Yes.
And then you would feel really bad
and
about
then
it.
I'd feel like
and then
her.
And then if you're like me, you gotta do a 10-step amends.
Well, that's right. And I don't
exactly.
I got too
not
much
worth
going
the
on.
time. Like, I ain't got time to write a little 10-step that was created over your nonsense anyway.
You're so right.
So
Not
it's
worth
like,
my time. Not worth my time. But she has
Shane would've said
definitely
something.
respected me.
Huh, buddy?
No, for sure. And
What are you doing way over there?
I don't like confrontation.
on
Yeah,
your
well,
part,
thank you. I
you know?
appreciate it. That truly, I think, is what I'm most proud of, is how I responded. Because I could have
Blasted her.
I
sure.
could have
Fucked her
blasted
up.
Definitely.
100%.
I hope she gets an opportunity to watch this podcast, and that
She'll know.
And here's the thing, though, but not for any other reason than that. Maybe she
got it wrong.
That
She was wrong.
that
That's what it is.
her
Like
actions
continued
hurt
grace.
somebody's feelings.
Well, her judgment on a significant
and that you
person
don't
because of
have
their
to
past.
be that way.
And her deflection,
Yes.
really, because like you said, and everybody said this, and you get so tired of hearing this. They're jealous. And what everybody would say, they don't want their husbands watching you down there coaching.
It's so much more than that.
It's so much. It's like, don't discredit. You're
Completely.
exactly right. It's not just whatever, but there's absolutely
It's 100%. It's a deep insecurity that is rooted in her that is coming out.
I'm bringing it
in
out of her.
Yes.
And that's not my problem.
Correct.
Unfortunately, I mean, it would be cool if you could work on it, because then I could, I don't know. I want everybody to win. I want the best for everybody. That's
because
just who
there's
I
enough
am.
for everybody.
Yep.
And that's why I do believe the 12
Is
steps.
there though?
Yes, there is.
No, really.
No, there really is.
I don't know.
I totally believe there is.
Yeah,
It's just who's going to go get it.
Well,
You
that's
you gotta go get it.
You gotta
difference.
go get it. There you,
have
go.
Not
That's
everybody
what I was-
will.
Not
Nobody has
everybody
balls.
has.
That's what I was waiting for.
Most don't.
Were you?
Yeah, I was.
But that's
Most
why I
don't.
think the 12 steps is so powerful, and that everybody could benefit from them. Because you really got to
100%.
look at yourself.
It's a workshop on the
is.
human, on your mind, your heart, your soul,
All of it.
your past, your hurt, your pain, everything.
Like,
oh my
there's
God.
so many instances where I'm upset, and then I'm about a situation, and then I have to do whatever, talk to my sponsor, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, it's because it's like I'm working something else is the issue that I'm projecting onto feeling this type of way that has nothing to do with whatever is happening.
Right.
It's a very good way to take accountability and not cast blame on
other
others.
people, which is so it's lazy and it's easy to do. I was I had, actually this was on Instagram, but a girl was saying how her mom had struggled with substance abuse, and then she explained all the ways that she behaved. And not many of them had to do with drugs or alcohol, which, right, is to be expected because it's the solution, not the problem. But another girl had responded and said, well, it's even harder for me because my mom does all these same things, but she doesn't drink or use. And it was a great moment for me to chime in, I felt, because that was my chance to explain that, the using, the alcohol, the drugs is a symptom. Two parents can have the exact same problem, the exact same shit going on. This person is just choosing this solution that's not going to work forever, and this one's not, and that's why, or I don't know whether we call them dry drunks or
Sure,
whatever, it's the misery.
Yeah.
And that's just another, way of explaining the way the steps do work for everybody, because we don't work the steps because of the drugs and alcohol. The drugs and the alcohol not working anymore are what led us to realize we are the problem, and that's where the work comes in. And that's why I hope that helps people understand why the steps could be beneficial to them. We didn't work. I mean, sure, the steps help us remove drugs and alcohol from our lives and keep them out. But ultimately, we're working on ourselves and the problem that began that later then led us to drink and use, But oh my God, yeah, are the steps incredible. I mean, that's when I got sober. That was the only thing that I had never tried. I had done it all, a faith-based program, 90 and 90. Picking a sponsor because she was pretty and then never calling her, shit we do, especially out here. And then I was in a sober, it was so funny too, because I was used to being out here. When I went back to Pittsburgh, I would joke, I'm like, we're not in Kansas anymore, because when I walked into that sober living, there was probably a dealer 2 doors down. We're in the hood. The air conditioner didn't work in the summer. The heat didn't work in the winter. There were mice in the basement. I hated doing laundry. I would run and close my eyes to throw a load of laundry in. My ego was so bad when I first got there that I couldn't even ask any of the other girls to borrow a bath towel or grab me one for a month. I would drip dry in the bathroom, because I always tell that story just because it speaks to how real our egos can be. My ego was so bad that not only was I standing there and just letting my body dry like that, but I made my amends, guys, but I was stealing little mini applesauce, like Mott's applesauces from the Rite Aid across the street, because I couldn't ask the girls to, eat, I don't know, borrow some food or whatever, which they would have done. But that humbling situation of not being in a mansion in Orange County was everything I needed. And if we sat on a step too long, we got a call from the house manager and we had a warning. Next one, you were kicked out. It didn't matter if you were caught up on rent or not. That was the only reason that I worked the steps the way I did. And that's the only reason I'm sober. So I'm all for, I don't know, just accountability, I guess, and keeping that fire. I mean, I know you can't do it for people, but if I wouldn't have been pushed into a corner like that, I'll say this, and then I don't want to, I feel bad. I know I'm a talker, but one other thing in terms of like the desperation, what we're willing to do, God also has jokes. The first day I got to that sober living, again, freshly found out that my dad's pressing charges on me, just left inpatient. I get there, I'm on blackout. My phone was off, begged T-Mobile to turn it on, promised them I'd pay them back, told them that I just got out of treatment. Shout out T-Mobile, they turned my phone on. Nope, didn't give them a dime, and they did that for me. I told them, I'm like, I will forever thank you if you do this, and they did it.
Wow.
So I'm on blackout. I'm 20 minutes away from my family, my child, my whole life, but I felt so far away. It was such a bizarre thing, especially because I was used to being out here. And the girls, they're like, hey, we're going to go to this meeting tonight. Do you want to come? We'll get you out of the house. I'm like, I'd love that. So some, girl with a little bit of time, swings by the sober living to pick all of us up, take us to the meeting. I walk out with the rest of the house, and the driver's like, oh shit, I don't have enough room in the car. I have my kid's car seat back here, and it doesn't come out. Like, I'm not pulling the car seat out. It was like a baby. It wasn't just like a booster seat. It was a car seat. And they all look at me because I'm the smallest one, and I was not staying home. I needed to get out. I was going nuts. Not only did I ride to my very first meeting when I got out of inpatient in a car seat, but when we pulled up to the treatment center, everybody's outside smoking. Pittsburgh sober, similar to Orange County, even smaller though. So, there's a new girl. We're all looking to see,
Oh, yeah.
I hop out of a car seat in front of all these people that are outside smoking. Like, that was my first impression to everyone, which is hilarious. And we all laughed about it. But it was just, I just tell that as a testament to God's like, what are you willing to do? Yep. What are you willing to do? I was willing to hop out of that car seat with my head held high. I'm like, I'm here and I'm ready to do this shit. And then that ended up being my home group for 2 years. And, I got a lot of work done there. I remember when I became the key holder of that meeting, I called my mom. I was so proud. Somebody trusts me with keys to a church. I'm like, that's crazy, but yeah, it's cool stuff.
No,
I really like that. Any lengths, right?
Any lengths. That's right.
Went to humbling lengths for this sobriety, and that's the one that worked. You know, and I have similar story, and it's just incredible. This has been an amazingly incredible podcast.
Yeah, you're the shit.
This is-
dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
This
thank
is-
you.
this is
I
like-
really appreciate it. I
we-
feel bad because I talk
What?
a lot.
No,
We
it's
went-
about you.
Okay,
We
well,
want to
like-
get that outfit right. Not the outfit, the machine.
Can I tell you something
So
funny?
could you text us the machine?
I have that.
I can't.
You have the
She's
machine?
like, I got it all.
The
She-
camera?
She
Yeah.
just has
Yeah,
to do
dude.
it.
I'm just like a.
Yeah, you have the little light
just
on the
has
top.
the light
Do it.
now.
Okay, we
Am-
want to
oh,
get the
Amazon.
light.
Emily, I
Fine.
think I have that one, right?
Amazon. Yeah, it's
Okay.
all.
Is that the one
Ooh.
that she has?
I don't
Shane-
break it.
Shane wants that one for himself though, because he's gonna start vlogging.
Yeah, I want to get one. I'm
Shane's
gonna buy
gonna
one. I'm gonna
vlog
buy
on
one.
the train on the.
I
yeah,
just vlog on
tram.
my phone. You know
Yeah.
what the problem
No,
is?
but
Yeah.
you can't. iPhones are so good now.
Yeah,
I
think
don't
so.
like.
That's
the
what Emily
way
did tell me too.
I look by myself. I literally have to be this side of the camera, right? And it has to be like set up. Then I can talk to it. But when I try to like,
You don't want to see
when I
yourself.
try to
is
vlog
that it?
myself, no, it's just, I look.
Well,
I
and the
look,
0.5 is better. Like I flip it too because it's a wider range.
Oh, okay.
When it's on you, you can't get it's
Yeah.
further.
Oh, I see.
It's
I see.
too close.
Too close.
Yeah, you can get that. I mean, even with vertical too. But I'll even say like when I was vlogging my whole way here on the plane. Towards the end of it, I was just really tired, and didn't feel like pulling my camera out. Just when I send my editor, which I just got an editor, and it has been a game changer for me. But I'll send him a combination. One video, there will be a couple clips that came from my iPhone.
Sure.
You know, I'll just be in a situation where it's just easier and quicker to grab it. I try my best to, stick with the camera, but no, it's a process. It's a learning curve. And again, when I blew up the way I did, it was off of shorts. And my dream was always, to be a YouTuber. I did. I didn't want to be an influencer. I wanted to be a YouTuber, a content creator. And so it's been really cool to get to do long form content, but it has been a lot of work because the views aren't there the way they are on the short form content. It's a lot more work, but I think it's worth it once you get there, because instead of having to post a million, organic new shorts every day, I can post a really good long form video like once a week.
Sure.
And it's not so quick paced, and I'm not filming every single little thing.
Yeah, we're only two. We've only done 2 vlogs so far.
That's dope that you're doing that though.
Yeah, we just started because she got pissed off though because we started while she was in Texas.
Well, no.
So I want to explain something
no.
though. What's really unique about us, right? Because literally, I was telling you, my circle, right? But these guys are also my family, and like
love that.
we are together, pretty much 5 days a week.
Like more than with
Like-
with your own family, would you say?
Five days a week,
Saturdays.
every week.
And
Like
Saturdays
9 hours a day with each other. So we're like brother and sisters.
No, I love that. And I think I heard this and I related to it a lot because that would be me. If I'm not mistaken, that you just walked in here one day and you just never left, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of
I came in just as a guest.
and you never
And
that would so be something I would do. You
Yeah.
know? I love that. I think that's
Well,
so
it just
dope.
so happens we might be looking for a replacement.
Never. Oh my God. Never could I ever.
No.
And she's the star of this show.
She is.
Oh, I love her even more
Star
now.
show.
Hear that, Shade?
Yeah.
So she could take
we had to
her
change
spot.
our
I did.
freaking logo.
I
Just
Check
so,
it out. The only bit of color
But
you
you
got
know
in
what?
there.
To
just
me-
so you know, we had a different logo.
Did
Like
you?
we started this, it was just me and this dork.
It was
2
hand-
dorks.
The other
Listen,
one was really
she
handsome.
brought the
Oh,
spice.
she brought the spice.
But
She actually brought
were
some.
great.
She brought some shit out of Shane too that
No,
I
that's
didn't know
dope.
existed.
That's really
It's
cool.
it's annoying, and sometimes it's funny because
annoying.
like, she's constantly saying, "Shane, stop!" Or
yeah, someone has to call out on his bullshit. And
love that.
it's a
Yeah.
testament to me about me getting out of the way and
Let God.
and letting God do his thing, because I wrote down in my journal that I wanted to do something with treatment.
That's
and
so
had
dope.
some and wanted to meet a team to help make that happen.
Oh, and
for
by
me.
the way, congrats on everything you do individually outside
thank
of
you.
this podcast.
Thank you.
Oh my God, yeah. When we first connected to
Bro,
set this
her
up, you
husband
sent
sets
me
all
the
that
link.
stuff up. Don't thank her. You want to make a call? Make
No,
a call
listen,
to her husband.
hey,
He sets it all up. He runs.
Listen.
I'm just saying he runs her entertainment life. He is the manager.
Well,
it.
entertainment life isn't even what I just.
That's like
I'm
Shout out-
talking the treatment
Shout out
end
to
of
Jonathan.
things.
Yeah, baby. Good job, Jonathan.
he
Jonathan, great job, man. You have
Nobody can
developed
tell
a
me
wonderful
anything.
woman here. It's
what I'm
unbelievable
saying?
what
I'm
you've done.
the
also
fuck
sure
up.
that she though
Shout
has
out to
helped her.
Jonathan.
I don't know, Jonathan. Jonathan, don't get mad at me for saying this, but I can only imagine how much you have contributed to everything that Jonathan has done, like with his stuff.
Sure.
Like you and I, obviously, like I love looking at you guys' platforms and watching things, but you are so supportive. It seems.
Oh,
it's
for sure.
very clear. That's what you do. You support each other and help each other out. But I think it's really cool what your journey has been, because obviously you've done some really cool stuff, like some real Hollywood
like, who
shit.
the fuck wrestles in the WWE?
No, literally. And then years later, you're helping people.
Well, it's just like really weird
So
for me
dope.
because 10 years ago I wrote this kind of like vision out that I'm now living in.
Oh, wow.
I came out with my sobriety on season 1 of Total Divas because it was like important for me to have my narrative and not try to piggyback and have somebody else tell my story.
Love
and be
that.
embarrassed about it. And then with my like family and like my husband is super supportive. When we walked in here, they said, I mean, we always joke and say like they fell in love with him and then got stuck with me. But then they started talking like business and it had coincided with everything that I wanted to do. God gave me a really big platform. I've done really amazing things in my life that I never thought that I would do. But this right here takes the cake.
Oh, I
She
bet.
cried saying that. Remember?
I was
And then
waiting
Shane
for
fucked it
like-
up.
No, I'm
helping.
not.
I was just
already
waiting.
know because
I was
you always
gonna
mess
say
everything
something.
Look,
up,
she's
so
like,
don't
I
cry.
wasn't even going to get
It's
emotional
like,
because
cheer
you
up, I
ruined
was
it.
in the
Exactly. Thank you.
That's what happens. He
I don't-
ruins every
Oh my
good
God.
emotion.
Why does it make you uncomfortable?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay. So
But
a
it's
little
weird.
therapy
Why would
session.
me being uncomfortable? It never makes you uncomfortable when Chad has a moment.
Sure.
I know. I was crying
huh.
yesterday.
Yeah,
and
I
do you
know.
hear him? In
So wait,
the,
you don't get uncomfortable when Chad cries.
He
look away.
agrees.
I do.
He was like, if you watch the reel from yesterday,
It's very
he's like,
interesting. That's a good catch
it's
on
a
That
good
is
catch. Yeah,
interesting.
good
because
catch.
every single time, and I don't really get
And
that.
I cry
emotion.
like
I
a
don't
motherfucker.
get that.
But he lets him.
I usually
have
have
his
an
fun.
Oh,
explanation.
Abby,
I
really
think.
nice having you in today, man. It was really incredible. You are a wonderful,
Actually,
wonderful woman.
Shane.
No, but seriously, like
All right,
we were
our peeps over here
Are dying?
They're
Have
dying.
they had
over
enough?
there.
okay.
Yeah. All right,
No, but
we'll
you're the
stop
bomb.
and then
Thank
we
you
can
so
talk
much.
off air.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for
Thanks
coming.
for having
this was
me. You guys are dope.
amazing.
So good.
Amazing grace. Okay, I can't.